Thank you very much, Sunil, and good evening, everyone. Very happy to be here after a very long time and seeing senior members of the profession and young members also, budding chartered accountants. Uh, Thank you again for being here and for giving your time to discuss on this very important topic, which we are seeing unfolding. Am I audible? Yes, sir. So as I said, unfolding as before us. So we right on. So I also introduced my colleague Anuj Dhingra, who is a seasoned professional. He has more than 10 years experience. He's a partner with the firm, and he's been working extensively on audits, corporate audits, non-corporate, and banks. And in fact, he's been instrumental in helping put together this presentation. So what we thought when we discussed with Swinji about the topic was that we will take you through the regulatory landscape very briefly, just an overview, and also seeing what is the thinking of the regulators today. Um, so as you know, NAFRA will also cover what is the regulatory landscape, what is happening, what is the thinking behind it, and then we can discuss in terms of what are some of my views in terms of what we should be focusing on. We can also get some country views. We can discuss, and some are even close. I looked at some cases which are very closer at home, as you may say. So I'm privy to some information. I also been a regulator myself. I was when I was part of the quality review board of the institute. I was also chairman of the financial reporting review board. I also was part of the standard setting process. I've been an auditor myself, so I've worn different hats, and so maybe some of the things I can see from different lens, and I'd be happy to hear different perspectives also. So we are all aware that NAFRA was set up under Section 132, and we had for that the entire discipline process of the entire regulation was done by the institute for the professionals, for the chartered accountants. And then there was this section which was carved out, which again was kept in abeyance for many years. The whole Companies Act was notified, but the NAFRA section was notified much later, and then the operative part also came in much later. So what has happened is that just to set the context, uh, as we would be discussing informally just before we started the session, that there have been some orders which NAFRA has come up with. NAFRA is National Financial Reporting Authority, and the section is 132. So they started with the larger firms. There was, as you all know, the case of INFS, where they had dictated to large audit firms and their partners. But recently, they have also gone into other firms, which are not the larger firms. And we may argue in terms of whether it is an excessive overreach or whatever it may come to. But so they have come up with a set of orders where they have penalized the auditors. They have put in monetary penalties, and they've also debarred the auditor as well as the firm. Now, which, if you ask me personally, is a big overkill in terms of the monetary penalty. NFRA is not covering. So these are large companies, unlisted companies, and they are. In fact, QRB is also coming out with their orders. Some of them we will cover in our presentation also. You have SEBI, you have RBI and IRD. You have RBI, IRDA, and other regulatory bodies. It would be cooperative, one who is looking at cooperative. Similarly, so these are the ones which are so essentially you can say there's multiplicity of regulators. Sometimes they speak at variance with each other, but that is the situation which is there today, right? Okay, so now we will next two slides. What I will do is we will just look at some of the key learnings or the key messaging which is there in these orders, and then we'll be happy if you have thoughts. We can discuss, and then I'll take you through some of the more detailed findings. So right now, just the key pointers. So the first one is on independence. Now, this is, in fact, if you've read anywhere, the either the ICI president, any office bearer, even the NFRA chairman, the first thing which they talk about is independence. Independence as an auditor, because if you see, even the report now says an independent auditor. Now, we can argue that whether an auditor is very independent or not, but within that framework, what has been done to maintain your independence? And within that, we can look at two parts. One is the Companies Act. So the Companies Act, in terms of eligibility under Section 141, where who can be an auditor. In that, there are certain business relationships. There are restrictions on loans. There are your relative and all those aspects are there. And then the reference to, and then obviously you've not been a auditor for 5 or 10 years. There's a rotation. You're a firm. What is your eligibility? All that comes in. But there is also a section 144 which talks about certain services which you cannot do for your audit client. And if you go to the Code of Ethics, if you go to Code of Ethics, you go to sections the para 600 and then to 800, 900, which further explains on what is independent. So, and especially the larger focus is on assurance clients. That if you're an assurance client, as an auditor, what are those services which you can or cannot carry out? So, anything which is so. The fact is, under 144, there are clear, there are aspects like internal audit, there's accounting, there's advisory services, and then there's something called management function which you cannot carry out if an auditor for that company, for its subsidiary, for its associate, for directly, indirectly through your or any other entity where you have interest. So all these are hard, and the idea is to maintain independence. That if you are doing audit um, and you're doing other services where you're deriving a more fee, whether through advisory or other means, then your independence is can be impaired, and your opinion may not be the best opinion. And which is where we go to the first slide that I said, that is the auditor really saying what he or she needs to say. So independence is one, and that's the reason in one of the orders they've talked about the fact that the opinion, and they've very stringent view they've taken, because the auditor was not independent. So there was no audit services being carried out by another firm where there was interest, and the fee there was very substantial. Thereby, the auditor was not independent, and because of the fact that there were other problems in the company, they brought everything together, and the auditor was not able to then actually determine, what were the problems in the company, and the report was not correct. So this is the first key aspect as far as independence is concerned. In fact, there's a huge debate going on today that to what extent can this be. So in fact, the NAFRA has taken a step further than what the MCA has laid down or whatever the institute has been thinking in terms of non-audit services. So they are wherever they're saying, they're only saying कि आपने audit करना है तो non-audit services, especially for public interest entities, you should not carry out. In fact, you would have heard that some of the funds, larger firms, have even publicly declared that they will not carry out any non-attest function or non-assurance services for their auditing. So this is the first key message. The second key message is an oft-read term, professional skepticism, but very less understood professional skepticism. So you will see a lot of orders where they've talked about professional skepticism. What is professional skepticism? कोई बताएगा? हाँ जी, please. Let me know your name and tell me what you are. Akanksha. Okay, thank you, Akanksha. Yeah.
So the professional skepticism means to be aware all the time where you are conducting an audit, you have to be aware in respect to all the areas.
Okay. Anything further? That's awareness. Yes. What is the key word in professional skepticism?
Being alert to the situation which will indicate to in the
Absolutely. Yeah. Any other thoughts? Questioning mind. This is another questioning mind. Yeah. क्या होता है questioning mind? कोई एग्जांपल दो आपने यहाँ पर. Okay. Any thoughts? Thank you so much. Anji. Somebody wanted to speak. Last 4 में कोई कोई एग्जांपल दे दो प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म का, या आपने कहीं पढ़ा हो किसी ऑर्डर में, कहीं पर की ऑर्डर उसने कहीं नहीं किया. हरीश, any thoughts?
credit balance of the account which is normally a debit. So what diligence and auditor has done on that?
And what really is the messaging here? What is the messaging? What is the learning we have? Um, so recently there was a webinar which NAFRA had. I don't know if any of you had attended. Two, three things which, and some of the things I'll cover during the presentation. But one thing which clearly came out was that audit. We need to look at audit more seriously. And in fact, the analogy which was used by the NAFRA chairman was like a surgeon carrying out his surgery. An audit is akin to that because that is the kind of importance the society really attaches to that. And Sunil mentioned that the attest function is being given to chartered accountants only for many. That is some place where there has not been any encroachment to a large extent. Which you can say some certification, tax audit and all, but basically corporate audit and everything, the attest function to that extent has been there with the chartered accountants only. The So that was one thing which the importance which was attached to that. In fact, the one of the past presidents of the issue in one of the addresses I commented, and this is Dr. Devashish Gupta, Dr. Devashish Gupta. He said that auditing is a serious business, and if in fact he gone to that extent that if you want, if you're not serious about it, please don't be on. So this is the thinking of the regulators. We need to understand that we should have saying that time and again. The Another aspect is that once a regulator takes a certain stand, has a certain thought process, the others will pick it up. So we'll start going around in that basis. So with that, let's just start on the presentation. And I'll take about 30 minutes or so just to cover that regulatory aspect, and then we have some discussion on accounting standards because I was so basically the whole audit landscape will have the Companies Act, auditing standards, accounting standards. So we will cover this, and Jagannath is going to cover the auditing standards. So we thought we will focus on the accounting standard. I just touch upon three basic engagement standards and two audit standards, just so that we can get a flavor of what is the expectation. And here on this slide this is my favorite quote. I've referred to it again and again and again, and I read it out to you, and it has a very profound statement. So this is Emerson. He's one of the greatest thinkers of our of the world, philosopher, thinker, and he refers to Plato. And I'll just read it out and let me understand from you what is your understanding. So Plato says that punishment which the wise suffer who refuse to take part in the government is to live under government of wordsmen. And the like regret is suggested to all the auditors as a penalty of abstaining to speak, that they shall hear worse orators than themselves. So anybody wants to share what is their understanding of this? Any of the young budding accountants? Yeah? Plain simple English. Koi bolega? Yeah? Tell me. Any thoughts? Please. Whatever you feel.
It's not, I don't understand the word. And the like regret is.
So like regret. It's an analogy. He's saying that whatever Plato said for those who are not part of government, similarly is for the auditors.
Yeah, so what would happen is, auditor is not speaking while giving the audit report, then he is bound to hear worse people guiding him as to what he should have done.
Yes. So that is it's more true today than it was any time.
Absolutely.
So when you are hearing regulators talk like that, the thought which is coming across, that's the reason I refer to this, is that are the auditors speaking out enough? Are they reporting enough? Are they considering everything or not? So we could still disagree if somebody has a different view, but obviously I think this is, to me, it's really a profound statement, perhaps conveys a lot more.
Absolutely.
And in fact, even on the other part, if you say today, and Plato said this long back, and people can criticize the government, but really, if you're not part of the government, then you really or you do not participate in that governance process. So again, I'll go forward. Any thoughts here? Any questions? Any different views?
And what I want to add here is that we need auditors with a strong backbone. But every time we become strong, we have put some more weights. So there are so many added responsibilities which should not be there for the auditor.
Forum like this are places where we can discuss and maybe uh, come to some options, some things where we can maybe communicate. So yes, sure. Okay, please. Any other
Keep
thoughts?
on adding weights.
So if you can't carry weight,
हाँ.
you'll not be paid for it. You'll not be.
Any other thoughts?
of
पीछे
any
से अभी
use
कोई
to
नहीं
the
बोला.
society.
सुनील जी यहाँ तो इनको आगे ले आए, सबको जो पीछे बैठे हैं.
हम लोग पीछे
नहीं नहीं पीछे नहीं और आगे आपसे और आगे आ जाए because ये इनको लग रहा है कि पीछे सबसे ज़्यादा क्वेश्चन पीछे से पूछ जाएंगे ये आगे. ठीक है? Okay, चलो. So this was IAASP, which formulates the auditing standards. They came when they revised the standards to, in fact, cover करेंगे the 700 series. This was the purpose for that. That more relevant information. इसमें भी CAM की बात कर रहे थे हम लोग. CAM key audit matter. EOM की भी बात हो रही थी. We discussed that why and the issue came up. Why despite giving, in fact, why despite giving a disclaimer also, the disciplinary action was taken. So, so this was when the auditing standards were revised. So, just a quick snapshot on the regulatory framework. I hope I'm not missed out anything. And the core is the ICI. Now, ICI, from a oversight perspective, is doing that to the peer review board, peer review, and the FRRB. Obviously, there's a disciplinary mechanism in place. Then you have under the Companies Act, you have NFRA, you have MCA, you also have QRB. And QRB is an independent body. In fact, there are people from the government, there are people from the issue. आप ये देख रहे हो कि ये बैलेंस बढ़ता जा रहा है. एक तो ये चीज हो गई कि कहने का आप ये देख रहे हो कि इसका बैलेंस लोन का बढ़ता जा रहा है. वो पैसा उसको दे रहा है, अच्छा कुछ उसमें से परचेज के लिए दे रहा है, जो माल आपके पास आ रहा है वो बिल्कुल कम है. हजारों करोड़ का आपने लोन वो पैसा दिया हुआ एडवांस क्या जो भी माल आपके पास आया 20-25 करोड़ का, तो आप ये पूछ नहीं सकते कभी कि किस लिए पैसा आपने दिया है, पैसा वापस नहीं आ रहा है, पैसा वापस आ रहा है तो घुमा के आ रहा है. सो दिस इज द एस्पेक्ट व्हिच दे आर टॉकिंग अबाउट कि आपने सिर्फ ये देखा कि आगे वो कर लिया, कॉन्फर्मेशन भी लीक नहीं करी. सो दे सेड दैट यू ओनली perhaps just completed the paperwork and you have what you are supposed to do is actually go behind and see. हर केस में ऐसा नहीं होगा, बट एक सिचुएशन हो सकती है. लोन किसी में लिया, आगे किसी को दिया, क्या पर्पस था? जेन्युइन पर्पस भी हो सकता है. इट कुड बी लॉ कैन बी परमिटेड, देयर कुड बी अनदर बिजनेस व्हिच यू आर डूइंग, आपकी सब्सिडी को और बिजनेस कर रही है, वो पैसा कहाँ जा रहा है? एक्चुअली अगर एसेट क्रिएशन में जा रहा है कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं, लेकिन इफ इट इज गोइंग टू डिफरेंट channels outside, those are things which they've said that you not use professional skepticism, knowledge of business. ऑडिट आप कर रहे हो, चाहे वो कंस्ट्रक्शन की हम बात कर रहे थे, कंस्ट्रक्शन की हम जैसे सॉफ्टवेयर की बात करते हैं, की ऑडिट मैटर किस लिए आया, उसको नॉलेज ऑफ बिजनेस है, उसने पूरा समझा कि रेवेन्यू ऐसे रिकॉग्नाइज होता है, इसके अंदर ये कंट्रोल्स हैं, यहाँ पर रेवेन्यू आना चाहिए, इस परसेंटेज आना चाहिए, ये बिलिंग होनी चाहिए, ये सारे समझना जरूरी है, जो काफी केसेस में ऑडिटर वाज नॉट एबल टू डेमोंस्ट्रेट कि उनको एक्चुअली बिजनेस समझ है. सो दिस वाज द सेकंड, दिस इज द सेकंड.
काफी documentary supposing give an example where you have been billing to a customer and the debit balance keeps on piling up from year to year. एक साल भी यार, next year 3 साल, क्या करेंगे हम लोग? ज़्यादा confirmation दे देंगे, you get the confirmation. But whereas something else has happened, the money has been routed through some other channel, we know it. We cannot, if we only we are aware of the all the companies and all the transactions, only then we can come to know of it. So this thing is there that the debit balance is piling up, but we are getting the confirmation from the party. So what else can we do?
So उसमें आप ऐसे 240 में जाओगे, आप ऐसे 250 में जाओगे, आप रिलेटेड पार्टी, मैंने आगे रिलेटेड पार्टी भी है, अगर तो वो रिलेटेड पार्टी पैसा जैसे आना, पहले तो आपने ये चेक किया कि नहीं पैसा नहीं आ रहा है, उसके लिए मैं चलो एक जेन्युइन ट्रांजैक्शन भी हो सकती है, बट इफ यू हैव रीजन टू बिलीव और आपको ये एविडेंस है या आपको पता चलता है कि पैसा क्यों नहीं आ रहा, आपने इंक्वायरी करी है, आपको सामने कोई और इन्फॉर्मेशन है which perhaps could lead to the company being at a greater loss today or tomorrow, and which you have not looked at, then definitely questions can be asked. And if that money has actually been siphoned, so आप अभी तो कह रहे हो सेल करिए, सेल जेन्युइन है फिर भी ठीक है, सेल जेन्युइन है फिर भी ठीक है, लेकिन पैसा अगर उसके लिए आना था किसी और कंपनी में आ गया, आपको इन्फॉर्मेशन है, देयर इज समवेयर बैंक अकाउंट है, कुछ और है, और वो ये सारी चीजें आपको क्वेश्चन,
दूसरी कंपनी की इन्फॉर्मेशन हमारे को नहीं,
आपको नहीं,
so we only have our,
मैं वही कह रहा हूँ, अब स्पेसिफिक जो आप केस कह रहे हो उसको मुझे देखना पड़ेगा, बट द होल पॉइंट इज आप किस एक्सटेंट तक जा रहे हैं टू रियली सी वेयर द इशू इज एंड व्हाट द अकाउंटिंग इज बीइंग डन, इज दैट ओके और नॉट. सो मेनली टेकिंग अ जहां अगर सपोजिंग इट्स अ फ्रॉडुलेंट सेल, आपने सिर्फ सेल बुक करी हुई है, आपने अकोमोडेट किया हुआ है किसी को, वो ऐसी चीज तो नहीं है. जेन्युइन सेल है, पैसा नहीं आ रहा, ठीक है, दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच यू विल नॉट बी कंसर्न्ड विद. पैसा नहीं आया, अगर रिलेटेड पार्टी है, अगर रिलेटेड पार्टी है, देन यू हैव टू बी इवन मोर केयरफुल कि किस पैसे पे बेचा उसको, मैंने उसको क्यों दिया, क्रेडिट जितना मैं नॉर्मल देता था वो दिया, पैसा नहीं आ रहा, कहीं वो आगे उससे मैंने, देन आई हैव टू फर्दर सी. So these are aspects which one needs to do. So the point is that ये जो एक जगह पर हम लोग रुक जाते थे, वो अब रुकने वाला सिचुएशन है. आपको पूरा आगे इंक्वायर करना पड़ेगा. एंड इट इज नॉट ओनली इन्वेस्टिगेशन, आई थिंक इट्स अ होल ऑडिट प्रोसेस. कंपनी की रेपुटेशन क्या है, किसको उन्होंने बेचा, सपोजिंग बेचा जिसको, वो एक्चुअली उसके अंदर डील करते हैं कि नहीं करते, इस कोई शेयर कंपनी तो नहीं. ये जो सारी चीजें हैं ये आपको पूछने की जरूरत. अब जैसे कैफे कॉफी डे मैं कवर करूंगा, उसमें सारी शेयर कंपनीज हैं, कंफर्मेशन आपके पास होगा भी, लेकिन वो क्यों दे रहे हैं उसको, आपको पूछना चाहिए. दैट इज व्हाट दे आर सेइंग. सो ये रिस्क असेसमेंट एंड फ्रॉड रिस्क असेसमेंट. सो ऑडिट जो है अभी भी काफी जगह पर मैं जो देख रहा हूँ, एंड दैट इज समथिंग व्हिच वी आर स्ट्रगलिंग विद एज यू नो ट्राइंग टू गेट, एंड स्पेशली यंगर पीपल. सो आई थिंक फ्रॉम अ knowledge perspective, what standards everybody would be very good, but practical application we are still doing audit in the same way. We're doing a vouch, and but the audit now requires to look at risk. Risk क्या है, सारा जो audit है risk के ऊपर बेस्ड है कि आपने risk क्या assess करी, कंपनी की, बिजनेस की, रेवेन्यू का, किस हिसाब से रिस्क असेस किया. रिस्क असेसमेंट इज अ डिटेल्ड स्टैंडर्ड कि सपोजिंग आप किसी माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री में, तो माइनिंग इंडस्ट्री के अंदर अगर कोई रिस्क टेक ओवर का है, कोई और चीज है, वो आपने असेस किया कि नहीं किया. सपोजिंग जैसे सीमेंट, उसके अंदर देयर आर सम ऑर्डर्स व्हिच आर ऑन मैन्युफैक्चरिंग, देयर इज सम ऑन यू नो एनबीएफसीज. उनके बिजनेसेस के क्या रिस्क है, वो रेवेन्यू पर या उनके आगे बिजनेस चलाने में क्या इम्पैक्ट करेंगे, वो आपने कैसे असेस किया, उसके लिए क्या प्रोसीजर है. सो दैट इज अगेन समथिंग व्हिच दे हैव टॉक्ड अबाउट वेरी क्लियरली कि भी आपने रिस्क असेसमेंट नहीं किया. इट्स और फ्रॉड. रेवेन्यू के अंदर स्टैंडर्ड आपका कहता है, जो ऐसे 240 है, वो कहता है कि रेवेन्यू के अंदर एक बेसिक प्रिजम्पशन है कि उसमें फ्रॉड होगा ही, आपको उसको नेगेट करना. ये नहीं करेंगे सब जगह होगा, लेकिन आपने किया कैसे, विच मीन्स जैसे हम बात कर रहे थे रेवेन्यू, तभी उन्होंने की ऑडिट पार्टी दिया, बिकॉज ऑफ कॉम्प्लेक्सिटी है उसकी. रेवेन्यू आप बुक कर रहे हो, यू नो बेसिकली वो जेन्युइन है कि नहीं है, आपने फेक तो नहीं किया हुआ, बिलिंग वापस तो नहीं आ रहा, ये सारी चीजें आपने एग्जामिन करी कि नहीं, डिस्काउंट आपने ज्यादा तो नहीं दे दिया, आपने रिलेटेड पार्टी को दिया कम पे तो नहीं दिया, किसी और को दिया ज्यादा पे नहीं दिया, उसको रिवर्स नहीं कर दिया. ऑल दीज थिंग्स आर. सो ये सारी चीजें उन्होंने क्लियरली बोली जो स्टैंडर्ड में है, आपके ऑडिटिंग स्टैंडर्ड के अंदर है, व्हिच आई विल आल्सो कवर. एंड सो बट दे ओनली हाइलाइटेड इट. देन रोल ऑफ एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर एंड द एंगेजमेंट क्वालिटी कंट्रोल. एवरीथिंग इज नाउ सेंटर्ड अराउंड द एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर. जो भी हो, एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर कौन है जिसने रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी अज्यूम करी. कुछ केसेस में ये भी कहा गया कि साइनिंग पार्टनर अलग है, एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर अलग है. ऑल दोस डिस्टिंक्शन आर नॉट गोइंग टू, बट यस, हु इज द पर्सन हु हैज बीन इंटरेस्टेड, हु हैज टेकन द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, उसकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है सारी चीजें करना. सो आप ये देखेंगे कि उन्होंने फोकस सारा एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर के ऊपर किया. अगर वो पेनल्टी भी लगाएंगे, वो करेंगे. जिसने साइन किया हुआ, उसने रिव्यू नहीं किया, उसने कंक्लूजन नहीं देखे, उसने डॉक्यूमेंटेशन नहीं देखी, उसने कोई रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी नहीं ली, जो कि स्टैंडर्ड आपके कहते. आप ये नहीं कह सकते कि जी मेरी टीम ने करा था, फाइन, दैट इज गुड, बट वो ये नहीं कह रहा कि सारी चीजें आपको करनी. आपकी टीम इक्विप होनी चाहिए, उनको अंडरस्टैंडिंग होनी चाहिए, उनके पास इन्फॉर्मेशन होनी चाहिए, और उन्होंने जो चेकिंग करी उसके बाद आपने कंक्लूजन कैसे करा जाए एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर, दैट इज फंडामेंटल. What were those queries which you raised? All that has to be covered, and that is what was, you know, not there. Then, with the requirement in case of district companies to have an engagement quality control reviewer, जहाँ उन्होंने कहा कि engagement quality control reviewer क्यों है? Because larger company है, district company है, तो एक opinion लिया engagement partner ने, दूसरा उसको review करेगा. Requirement ये है कि before the audit is signed, then the engagement quality control reviewer has to clear that. Right? And a lot of companies, the larger firms all have that system in place. लिस्टेड कंपनी के लिए मैंडेटरी एज पर स्टैंडर्ड. अब उन्होंने ये कंक्लूड किया कि एंगेजमेंट क्वालिटी कंट्रोल रिव्यूअर की नॉलेज नहीं, क्योंकि जो प्रॉब्लम्स या जो सिचुएशन या जो गलतियां करी एंगेजमेंट पार्टनर ने, वो एंगेजमेंट क्वालिटी कंट्रोल ने उसको देखा नहीं, उसके ऊपर कमेंट नहीं किया. So they assume कि उसको नई knowledge नहीं थी और उसने वो. So then the role of PPA and then SQC1 जो अभी करेंगे, which is the quality control standard. It is the mother standard. Engagement standards के सबसे ऊपर SQC1 है. उसकी compliance, जैसे for instance documentation. अच्छा, the other thing which the chairman said was कि if it is not documented, then we will presume that it is not being done. आप check, in fact एक Anuj, we were discussing, there is one case, very interesting case, जहाँ auditor ने argue किया कि कहाँ लिखा है कि ये मेरे को जो मैंने किया मुझे पता था मैंने ठीक किया लेकिन डॉक्यूमेंट नहीं किया तो इसका ये मतलब नहीं कि मैंने नहीं किया. मैंने कहा नहीं, ये गलत है. We can keep on arguing about it. So documentation to that extent is and SQC1, और ये बहुत एक फंडामेंटल चीज है जो हम लोग भूल जाते हैं. वो कहते हैं कि आपको 60 दिन मिलते हैं फाइल असेंबली करने की. अब इसका क्या मतलब है? तो लेट मी आस्क यू, 60 डेज का क्या मतलब है? आपने ऑडिट खत्म किया और उसने कहा कि यू हैव 60 डेज, जब आप डॉक्यूमेंटेशन स्टैंडर्ड में ले लो जैसे भी कर लो, यू हैव 60 डेज टू कंप्लीट योर डॉक्यूमेंटेशन. सो टेक्निकली अ रेगुलेटर कैन आस्क यू ऑन द 61st डे कि प्लीज ब्रिंग योर फाइल. रामपाल जी अभी कह रहे हैं, को पता है कि ही हैज गॉन थ्रू सो मच एंड ऐसा. सो ये 60 डेज का क्या मतलब? तो बताएगा 60 दिन के अंदर आप क्या कर सकते हैं? आप मत करो, आप लोग सिंपल क्वेश्चन है कि जो everybody knows कि डॉक्यूमेंटेशन करनी है. अच्छा, ये नॉट ओनली फॉर लार्जर ऑडिट्स, इवन फॉर योर द रिटर्न ऑफ ऑडिट इज द सेम. कुछ मे बी आप ऑडिट है, ठीक है, मे बी NFRA will not come, but these are learnings which are true for any audit. Documentation is a must, and this I will tell you. तो मुझे बताओ कि डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का जो ये 60 दिन वाला है कॉन्सेप्ट, इसका क्या मतलब? 60 दिन में आप क्या कर सकते हैं? Yes, so उन्होंने कहा फाइल अरेंजमेंट होगा, फाइल और डॉक्यूमेंटेशन गैदरिंग नहीं. इसके अंदर इनको ये मिला कि पहले इनफैक्ट एक पीछे भी पीसीओबी की एक रूलिंग आई है. Unfortunately, I don't know why they leaked out the name and everything. It's been circulated. There also they have said that actually the documents were prepared after the audit report was. So your documentation, your representation, your evidence, इसके अंदर एक और भी sufficient doctor, all that has to be collected before the audit. It's only a arrangement of file. आप ये नहीं कि आप representation लेटर बाद में ले रहे हो या आप confirmation बाद में मंगवा रहे हो. आपने कोई वो बिल नहीं देखा सेल का या आपको कोई फिक्स एसेट का, आपने कहा भाई क्लाइंट वाला वो भिजवा देना, मेरी फाइल में नहीं है. ये अगर कहीं पर पता चल गया तो ये this will go against you and it is not permitted. So ये concept जो है हमको clear करना चाहिए कि documentation gathering has to be concurrent. Your documentation of procedures as well as your evidence collection has to be concurrent. So this is the other running audit documentation उसके साथ है. Materiality के ऊपर अब कहीं पर उन्होंने ये कहा कि भाई ये जो चीज़ है ये ठीक नहीं है, और मटेरियल तो ऑडिटर ने कहा कि भी ये तो मटेरियल नहीं. अब मटेरियलिटी के असेसमेंट आपने कैसे करी? चाहे आप प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनी कर रहे हो, चाहे आप लिस्टेड कंपनी कर रहे हो, मटेरियलिटी का असेसमेंट आप कैसे करते हो? तो बताइए, आप डॉक्यूमेंट करते हैं मटेरियल का? आपने कहा कि यार इसको छोड़ दें, चलो ये मटेरियल नहीं है.
Take a 3% or 1% as a percentage of the whole revenue. This could be something which is new material, but in any case, we take out some samples which may change our materiality. So, in case we see few documents which take more, the materiality is going to be. That is how we come. So, it keeps changing depending upon how you audit.
Okay, I think you got it partly right. But anybody else, any other thoughts on materiality? You want to let me know? हाँ जी, any other thoughts materiality के ऊपर? क्योंकि in most cases the auditor is not able to demonstrate कि materiality क्या है. उन्होंने कहा कि ये material नहीं है. हाँ जी, बोलिए.
Size of the firm or company, volume of transactions, and complexity of transactions, and the nature of business. Something may be material for a certain industry, but something may not be material for another industry.
It is the effect of that transaction on the total accounts of the company.
So readability के लिए मतलब ऐसे you should not get another view about the financial statement. But then there are specifics given in the standard. So जैसे आपने कहा turnover ठीक है, टर्नओवर का एक परसेंटेज होता है, प्रॉफिट मेकिंग कंपनीज आप प्रॉफिट का परसेंट ले सकते हैं, उसमें लिखा हुआ है गाइडेंस के अंदर. The important point is it does not change. It may change year to year, but you got to document that, and then you also have to factor in various other कुछ चीजें जैसे related party transactions हैं, आपके regulatory compliances हैं, इनके लिए materiality is much lower. So the fact is कि अच्छा, फिर sampling and this is different. Materiality is for the auditor to see कि कौन सी ऐसी चीज है जिसका impact या जिसके adjustment financial statements पे नहीं हो, तो उसको अपनी report को modify नहीं करना. तो supposing आपका 100 करोड़ का रेवेन्यू है, आपने सपोजिंग 1% उसका ले लिया 1 करोड़, दैट 1 करोड़ मे बी उससे अच्छा 1 करोड़ फ्रॉम ऑन अ सेफ साइड में 75 लाख से या 60 लाख से वन. ठीक है, सैंपलिंग के लिए आप कहोगे 60 लाख से ऊपर कोई भी अगर चीज़ है तो मैं उसको देखूंगा, बट मेरे पास गलती आई 20 लाख की, मैं उसको एक्यूमुलेट करूंगा, 5 लाख की एक्यूमुलेट करूंगा. द मोमेंट इट एक्सीड्स दैट 60 लाख, आई विल हैव टू आइदर गेट इट एडजस्टेड और सो दैट इज व्हाट मेटेरियलिटी इज. एंड a lot of auditors are not aware about, and there's a standard on this, there's a lot of discussion on this today. In fact, the way the discussion is going tomorrow, the auditors may need to even disclose how they are taking material, because nobody knows what is material. So this is the other thing. So sufficient appropriate audit evidence के बारे में बहुत और डिटेलिंग और बताई हुई है, क्योंकि आप जब ऑडिट रिपोर्ट दे रहे हैं उस स्टेज पर आपके पास एविडेंस होना चाहिए. आपने इन्वेंटरी की इन्वेंटरी वेरिफिकेशन होना चाहिए, उसकी शीट्स होनी चाहिए, फिक्स एसेट रेवेन्यू के अंदर सारा कुछ. बहुत केसेस में उनके पास फाइल में चीजें थी, so they did not have sufficient appropriate audit evidence. The word is sufficient appropriate audit evidence. Sufficient भी होना चाहिए, appropriate भी होना चाहिए. जब उन्होंने ये भी कहा, और बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग आगे है भी कि इनके पास कुछ भी नहीं था, इन्होंने सिर्फ कागज इकट्ठे करे हैं सिर्फ फाइल भरने के लिए. सो वो sufficient, ऐसे ही कहता है, sufficient appropriate audit evidence was missing. Again, fundamental issue for any kind of audit. अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड के अंदर, एंड द रीजन आई एम स्पेसिफिकली टॉकिंग अबाउट दिस इज एक बड़ा इशू जो पीछे बैंकिंग हुआ, जब रीस्ट्रक्चरिंग में लोन्स की इंटरेस्ट, a lot of companies chose not to provide for that interest, right? और ऑडिटर ने क्वालिफाई नहीं किया. कुछ केसेस में उन्होंने एम्फोजल मैटर, अभी मैं उसको भी कवर करूंगा, एम्फोजल मैटर का इशू वो क्लियरली इज अ नॉन कंप्लायंस ऑफ एन अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड, जहां आपको प्रूव बेसिस पे करना, अगर नहीं कर रहे हैं तो उसको आपको क्वालिफाई करना. उसमें कॉन्ट्रीब्यूट आ रहा है कि अगर मेरे को सर्टेनिटी है कि उनको पे नहीं करना तो प्रोवाइड करना पड़ेगा, लेकिन उनका नहीं, आपकी रिक्वायरमेंट है एज पर दी योर लोन एग्रीमेंट, आपको इंटरेस्ट पे करना था. अभी रिस्ट्रक्चरिंग चल रही थी, आपका इंटरेस्ट माफ नहीं हुआ था, आपने लार्ज अमाउंट्स ऑफ इंटरेस्ट यू हैव नॉट प्रोवाइडेड, ऑडिटर इज नॉट क्वालिफाइड, सो योर बैलेंस शीट इज मिस्टेकन. सो दैट इज अगेन इंटरनल कंट्रोल फ्रेमवर्क. इसके ऊपर हम लोग जब ऑडिट करते हैं तो एक बेसिक चीज होती है नॉन इंटरनल कंट्रोल असेसमेंट. आप उसके बेस पे ये देखते हैं कि मेरे को चेकिंग किस हिसाब से करनी. सो दे हैव कंक्लूडेड, रेगुलेटर्स हैव कंक्लूडेड कि इसमें इंटरनल कंट्रोल फ्रेमवर्क था ही नहीं. आपने रिपोर्ट कुछ केस में आप लोग आईसीएफआई की रिपोर्ट भी देख रहे हैं, देखिए इंटरनल फाइनेंशियल कंट्रोल्स के ऊपर, सो जिन कंपनीज के अंदर रिक्वायर्ड है, तो वो कह रहे हैं कि आपने वो दी कैसे, आपने चेक तो करा नहीं कि आपके पास डॉक्यूमेंट्स नहीं है, कोई टेस्टिंग नहीं है, कंट्रोल सब जगह फेल हो रहा है जहां पर इतनी इतना इस लेवल के मिस्टेक हो. सो दैट इज अगेन वन की मैसेज, कंप्लायंस विद ऑडिटिंग स्टैंडर्ड. इसमें बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग
मैनेजमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेशन लेटर के ऊपर थोड़ा सा if you can explain, because I've seen couple of letters which are very elaborate, मतलब they run pages going over each and every head of the balance sheet, and whereas some of them are very specific. जिस मैटर पे आपको थोड़ा सा लेना है रिप्रेजेंटेशन या as evidence, so what should be the exact मतलब मैटर क्या होना चाहिए.
So इसमें दो पार्ट बिल्कुल वेरी बहुत रेलेवेंट और बहुत जरूरी है, और इनफैक्ट एक थर्ड डायमेंशन भी मैं कवर करूंगा. पहले मैं दो पार्ट्स कवर करूंगा. मैनेजमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेशन लेटर इज a comfort which the management is giving to the auditor on certain assertions which they have in their balance sheet. So it could be detailed to that extent on, let's say, fixed assets, availability, जहाँ पर कि मैनेजमेंट assert कर रहा है. एक तो उसने अपने आप में रिपोर्ट, तो वही assertion को आप आगे रिपोर्ट में लेके जाते हैं जहाँ वो कहते हैं कि मैनेजमेंट ने अपनी एक्नॉलेज किया, तो हेड वाइज वो एक्नॉलेज करते हैं. जहाँ सपोजिंग फेयर वैल्यूएशन है, सपोजिंग फॉर जो भी चीजें एग्जिस्टेंस है सारी. फिर कुछ ऐसे सिचुएशन है जहाँ पर कि आपको पूरी एविडेंस नहीं मिल सकती. फॉर इंस्टेंस आपने नेट रियलाइजेबल वैल्यू देखी, सपोजिंग इन्वेंटरी आपके पास है, कल को उसकी इन्वेंटरी की वैल्यू दे दोगे, आपने उनसे स्पेसिफिकली लिया डिटेल अबाउट कल को ये मैं कितने पे बेचूंगा या क्या चीज़ है. कोई आपको फेयर वैल्यूएशन के लिए कोई assumption और चाहिए जिसके लिए आपको रिक्वायरमेंट, कोई लिटिगेशन है जहाँ पर कि सपोजिंग आपको लॉयर से नहीं मिल पा रहा लेकिन मैनेजमेंट असर्ट कर रहा है कि रिकवरी, या कोई जैसे आपने अभी डेट की बात करी, रिकवरेबिलिटी के ऊपर स्पेसिफिकली आपने लिया, कोई लिटिगेशन चला लेकिन आपने कहा कि नहीं ये मैटर है, इस वजह से हमें लगता है कि रिकवरी, सो दिस वुड बी अ स्पेसिफिक, देयर आर वन इन जनरल, तभी आप कह रहे हो तो स्पेसिफिकली यू आर टेकिंग एडिशनल कंफर्ट एंड एडिशनल एविडेंस ऑन सर्टेन मैटर्स कि भाई ये जो अकाउंट्स में ये स्टेट हुई है ये ठीक है और इसके ऊपर मैनेजमेंट रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, उसको फिर आप अपने तरफ से देखेंगे कि ओके डू यू एग्री, इसकी इशू कहाँ पर आता है मैनेजमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेशन में सबसे ज्यादा और स्टैंडर्ड में दिया हुआ है कि किस स्टेज में आप मैनेजमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेशन रिलाई कर सकते हैं, किस स्टेज में, जहाँ पर कि मैनेजमेंट के ऊपर आपको कंफर्ट है, मैनेजमेंट नॉर्मली हैज बीन डूइंग थिंग्स इन द राइट मैनर, सपोजिंग फ्रॉडलेंट मैनेजमेंट है, आपने देखा है कि हर जगह पर चोरी करते हैं, टैक्स की चोरी है, बाकी जगह है तो राइट, उन केसेस के अंदर इफ यू आर लाइंग ऑन मैनेजमेंट रिप्रेजेंटेशन दैट वुड बी अ चैलेंज, in fact the standard says you should not rely on management. The other dimension is that merely relying on management representation and not having enough evidence is also very risky. Is the riskiest thing. So does that explain the context of management representation? So that if you look at it in this perspective, then it can help an auditor, and also you can see कि कौन सी चीज आप कहाँ तक उसको accept करें. So then on compliance with auditing standards, अभी तक जैसे आप भी कह रहे थे कि भी मैं उसको पढ़ा, complexity है उसमें से. How many people have actually read auditing standards? आप ऑडिट करते हुए auditing standards कितने लोगों ने पढ़ा है, उसको अप्लाई किया, पढ़ने अलग चीजें, अप्लाई किन्होंने किया, मैं हाथ कितने हैं सर पर अली अब तो स्टैंडर्ड ऑडिटिंग कितने इशू हो चुके हैं. नहीं अब ये बहुत फंडामेंटल है. समझिए आप जैसे कह रहे थे कि प्राइवेट लिमिटेड कंपनीज, क्लियर स्टेटमेंट फ्रॉम द रेगुलेटर, इट इज नाउ पार्ट ऑफ लॉ 143(10) सेज कंप्लाई विद ऑडिटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स. अब कोई प्रिंसिपल नहीं रह गया कि जी मैं इसको नहीं करा, मैंने इस तरह सोच लिया, कोई वो नहीं. सेम चीज सेबी ले लेगा, सेम एमसीए लेगा, सेम कल को आईसीए लेगा. लॉ के अंदर प्रिस्क्राइब्ड है हर चीज जो है आपको स्टैंडर्ड, और वो दे आर गोइंग टू, ठीक है, मे बी इन द स्मॉलर कंपनीज इट विल नॉट बी दैट इंसाइसिव, बट यहाँ तो हर लाइन को, हर कॉमा को, हर फुल स्टॉप को वो एज इट इज. तो इट इज नॉट, सो दैट्स आई थॉट आई कवर दिस. ऑडिट रिपोर्टिंग आपने कवर करना है, जो आप क्वेश्चन पूछ रहे थे. आई वाज आल्सो सरप्राइज्ड व्हेन आई सॉ कुछ ऑडिट्स के अंदर ईवन दिया हुआ लेकिन उसके ऊपर एक्शन लिया हुआ, डिस्क्लेमर दिया हुआ लेकिन एक्शन लिया हुआ. Once you go down into these orders in more depth, you will see कि वो incorrect. मैंने 10 EOM दिए. It is not a case fixed for an FSO matter. I have not been able to explain why it is an FSO matter. FSO matter is something where it is not to be qualified. आप वही डिस्कस करेंगे कि जो चीज कंक्लूड कर लिया ऑडिटर ने कि मॉडिफिकेशन की जरूरत है. अगर कुछ लोगों ने पहले सेशन को भी अटेंड करा हो तो उसके अंदर आई कवर्ड दिस एस्पेक्ट. All these were matters which required a qualification. जैसे गोइंग कंसर्न का मैटर, गोइंग कंसर्न के अंदर उन्होंने ईएम दे दिया लेकिन एक्चुअली उसमें चैलेंजेस थे, उसमें गोइंग कंसर्न असेसमेंट नहीं हुई थी तो मॉडिफिकेशन हुई. डिस्क्लेमर के ऊपर भी उन्होंने कहा कि गलत है डिस्पाइट यूर डिस्क्लेमर. एक केस में तो क्वालिफिकेशन के अंदर भी उन्होंने कहा कि आपने क्वालिफाई किया लेकिन आपने ये कहा कि इम्पैक्ट आप नहीं डिटरमिन कर सकते, वो भी गलत है बिकॉज आप इम्पैक्ट डिटरमिन कर सकते. सो merely giving a qualification or disguising a qualification in the manner of an EOM, disclaiming where maybe a adverse is required, disclaiming at one place आगे qualification की जरूरत है, वो भी acceptable. Again, these are going concern मैंने बताई है. So these are the और भी बहुत चीजें हैं, but these are some of the key learnings which we may be aware, हमने पढ़ा भी होगा लेकिन इसको reiterate किया जाए. अब अगर ये देखा जाए कि इसमें ओवररीच थी, उन्होंने गलत किया, पेनल्टी ज्यादा लगाई, उनका इंटरप्रिटेशन बहुत ज्यादा, हम कह सकते हैं कुछ केस में आर्ग्यू कर सकते हैं, ये भी आर्ग्यू कर सकते हैं कि उनकी उस टाइम पर जिन केसेस को उन्होंने एग्जामिन किया वहां पर उनकी अथॉरिटी थी कि नहीं थी. लेकिन इफ यू लुक एट इट फ्रॉम अ मोर आई वुड से होलिस्टिक पर्सपेक्टिव, देयर इज अ मैसेजिंग व्हिच इज कमिंग वेरी क्लियरली टू अस कि ये ऑडिट के अंदर आप चीजें नहीं देख रहे हैं, या अगर देख रहे हैं तो मे बी करेक्ट पर्सपेक्टिव से नहीं देखे, करेक्ट लेंस से नहीं देखे, उसको देखना शुरू करें. एंड सो यू विल बी एबल टू डू अ बेटर ऑडिट, यू विल बी एबल टू गिव बेटर. और हो सकता है कि जो फ्रॉड हो जाते हैं वो उस स्टेज पर आपको पता चल जाए, इंडिकेटर मिल जाए This is the whole purpose of this, providing, this summary. इसके बाद details और भी हैं. अनुज एक बारी quickly I'll run through. I won't take. I think I've maybe taken more time. हाँ जी.
Just one thing for auditors, whenever you are doing any paper, checking on a paper, please take photocopy of that paper for your reports, which we are generally not taking.
Rather not the photocopy. Whatever you are working, you have to show that actually you have worked on that. It means
Article में सब चीज Excel पे या उसको
see,
नीचे आपको
that is a support. But when even for your audit program, you have to tell who has done it, at what time he has done it, and what was the date. Everything you have to tell.
that is your internal document. But when you are
Now
taking
it
any
is coming
document,
in your working paper files. They are being relied upon.
You
Rather
have to-
you are being educated on that.
Following the basic of it.
all your program is a basic documents, but regarding the third party evidence or how you are working
No,
on that,
my one question is, if we take some kind of sweeping statement against the company, will it be in favor of the shareholders or it will be against them? And suppose whatever the management is saying, and it is going by that, year on year, they are standing by the same statement and it is happening like that. How can we give an adverse remark?
नहीं, मैं वो स्पेसिफिक के अंदर हम जाएंगे जो स्पेसिफिक केस हम सबको बताना पड़ेगा और उसको हमको भी और डिस्कस
नहीं
करेंगे.
उसको केस पर डिस्कस नहीं करना.
नहीं, सो इशू ये है कि मैनेजमेंट को स्टेटमेंट दे रही है, आप उसको अगर एविडेंस है आपके पास, मैनेजमेंट है, आप उससे एग्री कर रहे हैं, राइट? सो देन यू कैन गिव अ रिपोर्ट व्हिच इज अनमॉडिफाइड. बट इफ यू आर नॉट एग्रीइंग विद दैट और देयर इज इंफॉर्मेशन व्हिच इज इनकम्प्लीट,
No,
व्हिच
we
इज
are,
नॉट,
sir, we are agreeing with that. That's why we have given that kind of comment. We have agreed. But at a later stage, DEFRA can say that you have wrongly agreed. Your decision to agree was wrong. That is my independence. I could have decided anything.
so your working paper, that's why I said documentation. Your working paper, your conclusion has to demonstrate that the conclusion which you took was right. Professional judgment को वो तो कह रहे हैं कि आप professional judgment रखिए, लेकिन based on that वो rational होना चाहिए, उसके पीछे कोई accounting standard होना चाहिए, कोई law होना चाहिए जिसके बेस पर आपने interpret किया या आपने कोई view, और अगर कुछ contrary भी है तो वो आपको support करना चाहिए. तो ये नहीं कोई आपको कह रहा कि आप व्यू नहीं ले सकते, आप ओपिनियन नहीं ले सकते, आप एग्री नहीं कर सकते, लेकिन आपको डिमॉन्स्ट्रेट करना पड़ेगा. इसीलिए जो डॉक्यूमेंटेशन का स्टैंडर्ड है वो ये कहता है कि आपका डॉक्यूमेंटेशन ऐसा होना चाहिए कि कोई और ऑडिटर आए, कोई और चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट आए, कोई और प्रोफेशन आए, वो उसको देखकर बता सके.
क्या किया?
So I'll just take a pause here. इसके बाद सारे there are details about whatever I've spoken. These are extracts I can share with you. In the interest of time, I thought अगर कोई specific question हो, so I try to cover all that. इसमें 3-4 पेजेस और हैं और फर्दर ऑन जो मैंने बताया था इसके अंदर डिटेलिंग और एक तो हम आगे चल रहे एंड वी आई कैन टेक अ अदर देयर इज समथिंग ऑल दिस
Last one. Failure to attend.
फिजिकल एक काउंट वाला था जो मैंने बता रहा था सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट. उन्होंने कहा कि फिजिकल इन्वेंटरी काउंट अटेंड करना ऐसे 510 है जिसके अंदर मैंडेटरी है, बहुत लोग मिस कर देते हैं. उन्होंने कहा कि आपने अटेंड ही नहीं किया फिजिकल काउंट. सो फिजिकल इन्वेंटरी काउंटिंग आपको नहीं करनी, बट presence is required, and you maybe there are different plants, so you have to then decide कि कहाँ पर आपकी presence होनी चाहिए, क्या materiality, अगर inventory material है तो ये उन्होंने एक चीज बोली थी. फिर ये जैसे की ऑडिट मैटर के अंदर उन्होंने कहा कि भी आपने कहा कि एक बेसिस पर वैल्यूएशन हुई लेकिन एक्चुअली दूसरे पर हुई. सो देयर वर लॉट ऑफ इनकंसिस्टेंसीज. तो फाइनली उन्होंने फ्रॉड का मैंने बताया कि अब देखो बहुत उनकी स्टेटमेंट बहुत ही वो है, sufficient appropriation, ना strategy, ना planning, materiality, identification of the material statement, understanding, what. So everything they've said, the entire audit exercise is failed. So I think there's a huge learning from this. आगे इसमें तो उन्होंने ये कहा कि alternate attempt to investigate by adding and altering documents audit file which amounted to tampering with the audit. तो that's why I said कि जो audit files हैं वो आपकी complete concurrently होनी चाहिए, not to work out. हाँ, ये वाला जो मैंने आपको बताया था, ऑडिट लाइन डेमोन्स्ट्रेट, वी इनटू सिंपली करेक्टिंग एंड फाइलिंग. तो हम लोग सोचते हैं कि हम डॉक्यूमेंटेशन कर रहे हैं, लेकिन क्या आप रख रहे हो? वो सारे अगर आपने सेल इनवॉइसेस सब रख दिया, लेजर रख दिया, दैट इज नॉट. सो वो कह रहा है सफिशिएंट अप्रोप्रिएट ऑडिट. इसमें एक बड़ा इंटरेस्टिंग केस था एपीजी शिपयार्ड के पीछे, खैर मैंने भी डिटेल. सो यहाँ पे अगेन द इशू वाज दैट द मनी वाज बीइंग गिवन, the recoverable was increasing, but there were no productive assets which were coming up. The money was being siphoned out. So again, they have questioned कि भी auditor ने ये चीज पूछी क्यों? At least पूछना तो चाहिए था. आप ये नहीं कह रहे कि आप डिस्कवर करिए, लेकिन ऑडिट के पार्ट के अंदर मतलब 6,000 करोड़ का अगर बढ़ता जा रहा है वहाँ पर अमाउंट बढ़ता जा रहा है, लेकिन जो एसेट्स हैं वो 20-25 ही वो इनफैक्ट घटते जा रहे हैं, तो वो कह रहे हैं वो आपने नहीं देखा। नीरव मोदी के केस में अगेन इसमें थोड़ा व्यू मेरा डिफरेंट है, बट उन्होंने ये कहा कि जो लिंकिंग नहीं थी आपकी जो कोर बैंकिंग का, फॉर दिस ऑडिटर शुड हैव 12,000 करोड़ का स्कैम हो गया 2 साल में। We need to go into our own audit process and see what Cafe Coffee Day I've already discussed। ये दोनों जो केस हैं Bartronics and Shuklovic, they came in from FRRB reference to NFRA। इसके अंदर इंटरेस्ट वाले इश्यूज हैं, ह्यूज लॉसेस, इंटरेस्ट नहीं प्रोवाइड किया हुआ, ऑडिटर ने क्वालिफाई प्रॉपर्ली नहीं किया हुआ, ईओएम दिए हुए हैं। So these are some of the cases which we
We
have
have
talked about.
cases where the auditor has highlighted and found that there is a substantial fraud and all that, because we keep on talking about the cases which has gone wrong. But are there any audit reports which have found these mistakes and given that report to the shareholders? Can we highlight
So
that?
shareholder पे नहीं आएगा वो, yes कारों के अंदर reported है काफी केस। I don't have that but I can share that with you। जो fraud आपके पास है आप शेयर कर देना अभी अपने दिन। 143(12) जो है, जो फ्रॉड रिपोर्टिंग है वो डायरेक्टली जाती है गवर्नमेंट के पास, उसका एक्सेस आपके पास नहीं। बट यस, कारों में देयर आर नंबर ऑफ केसेस वेयर देयर हैज बीन रिपोर्ट्स बाय ऑडिटर्स, वेयर इन फैक्ट देयर इज नाउ वन मोर जो अभी नफरा का जो सर्कुलर आया है व्हिच इज फॉर अगेन लिस्टेड कंपनीज। हाँ, इसमें उन्होंने कहा है कि आपकी ड्यूटी है रिपोर्ट करना फ्रॉड, एंड दे हैव टेकन अगेन अ डिफरेंट स्टैंड फ्रॉम व्हाट हैज बीन टेकन इन द गाइडेंस फॉर, कि अगर किसी और ने रिपोर्ट कर दिया फ्रॉड तो ऑडिटर को नहीं करना, लेकिन नफरा ने कहा है कि आपको भी रिपोर्ट करना। तो इसके ऊपर अभी क्लैरिफिकेशन आई डोंट नो अगर आती है नहीं आती, अदरवाइज यू हैव टू फॉलो द एनएफआरए डायरेक्शन। बट जस्ट टू answer your question, there have been cases where auditors have been reporting on fraud. I think we should take a इसके बाद तो ये recent resignation इन्होंने हाँ ये भी कहा कि अगर ऑडिटर रिजाइन भी करता है तब भी रिस्पांसिबिलिटी उनके अगर फ्रॉड की है रिपोर्टिंग की तो वो दे विल नॉट बी एब्सॉर्ब्ड।
जैसे रिजाइन का भी डिलॉयट ने कर दिया
वही सामने
अगर दूसरा रीजन दिया उसने, हाउ द अदर ऑडिटर द इनकमिंग ऑडिटर विल टेक केयर ऑफ दैट, जो उसने
that is the issue which is coming up, that is the issue which is coming up exactly
डिस्कस दैट।
कि नहीं, I don't know the reason, they would have given the reason to the to the company or to the shareholders. They're not privy to that information yet, so we are still looking at that. But the incoming auditor will have to seek a no objection. They will have to seek a no objection from the other auditor, and there is a matter. So this is what they're saying, that if there is a matter with regard to fraud which has been suspected, then you will have to report that before you resign. Either bring it out into a report, and if it is not, one you will have to report that. So your resigning will not absolve you of that.
and communicate to the incoming auditors
Also, yes. पर वो अगर आपकी रिपोर्ट में आ गया तो ठीक है, वो तो आपने नहीं दिया, लेकिन आप ये नहीं कर सकते। So one has to be careful also. These are also very very delicate matters. The way it is reported, how it is done, also.
तो उसमें नाफा केसेस में आर इशू टू सपोर्ट,
Sorry,
टू रिमेंबर समवेयर इन केस ऑफ नाफा केसेस द इशू टू सपोर्टिंग
अभी रिकॉर्डिंग चल रही है, रिकॉर्ड कर रहा हूँ,
हाँ बिल्कुल
तो रिकॉर्डिंग के बाद बताऊंगा। चलो, so I'll take a pause here. कोई अगर queries हो तो आप बताइए, क्योंकि हाँ you want to cover this also? मैं क्या अभी आप cover कर लेंगे ये standards के बारे में ना?
not required my consideration will be SA 700 to 720.
So in any case ये मैंने बताया कि ये framework है auditing standards का। मैंने बताया mother standard है जो आपका S2C जो भी अब change हो रहा है further, it is becoming even more stringent. और engagement standards हैं, auditing standards हैं, specialized areas हैं, review के अलग standards हैं। Actually these are the critical standards जो audit के लिए यूज होते हैं। 200 से ये 700 तक, 799 लिखा है, 799 है नहीं, बट सीरीज वो है 700 आप कवर कर ही रहे हैं। तो 200 जो है, अगर आप एक 200 पे आ जाओ, जो सारा जो क्रक्स है ऑडिट का वो सब इसमें 200। अगर आप इसकी हेडिंग भी देखेंगे, मेरे ख्याल से अगर कोई इसकी सिर्फ टाइटल ही देख रहे हैं, उसी से क्लैरिटी हो जाएगी कि ओवरऑल ऑब्जेक्टिव ऑफ द इंडिपेंडेंट ऑडिटर एंड कंडक्ट ऑफ एन ऑडिट इन अकॉर्डेंस विद ऑडिट, सारा निचोड़ उस एक टाइटल में। और इस स्टैंडर्ड के अंदर सारा निचोड़ है। अगर आप सिर्फ एक ही स्टैंडर्ड पढ़ रहे हैं सबसे पहले, आगे कोई भी स्टैंडर्ड को इससे आप नहीं कर सकते। वो जो चीजें मैंने आपको बताई, एथिकल रिक्वायरमेंट्स, प्रोफेशनल स्केप्टिसिज्म, प्रोफेशनल जजमेंट, sufficient and conduct of auditor, everything is clearly articulated. So now, अच्छा 2 मिनट में और लेता हूँ कि भाई are things, what is it, where do we go from here? एक तो सिचुएशन ये है कि हम ठीक है, हम कह सकते हैं we can be critical, which is fair enough. कि overreach हो गई, जो भी किया तो हाँ auditor के पास. Again going back, what is the messaging and how do we proceed? हम लोग इससे क्या सीख ले सकते हैं, क्योंकि हमको जो करना है उसमें हम क्या चीजें रख सकते हैं, अपनी क्वालिटी कैसे improve कर सकते हैं या क्वालिटी कैसे मेंटेन कर सकते हैं. I think that is the key. In fact, institute has come out with very detailed and very good checklists. Anuj, आप share कर देना, आपको पता है उसका link तो, which will help in discharging of the audit. मतलब हमारी टीम के लिए भी useful है, कैसे information लेनी है, कैसे document करना है. Then they also come out with this audit quality maturity model. We may be initially dismissive कि भी बहुत सारे document, but yes, it talks about quality indicators. There's a lot of things which go into getting a quality audit. Output अभी आपकी qualitative होगी अगर input qualitative. Input qualitative तब होगा जब उसको measure कर सकें. So I think with that, finally I'll take close my session. I'll be अगर आप लेना चाहें या जो भी आगे would you like to take? So thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. Happy to take further questions. Sunil, hopefully I have been able to clear and also articulate the for audit overall, not only for
Practical issues.
नहीं से बैठे थे आप लोग ऐसे थे. So what will you cover now? Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Myself Anuj Dhingra, and I have a one-line introduction that I am working with Sanjay for the last 20 years. Continuing to, I have prepared my presentation on Schedule 3, Caro, and Accounting Standard Criticalities. So, should I be covering both, or in the interest of the time, should I jump to Accounting Standard?
I think Caro is important. I think Caro is going to cover.
Yeah, should do the important part and accounting standards. So, which is
Right, sir.
relevant to reporting.
So Schedule 3 also, this is the third financial year which we are into. So that got changed 2 years ago, and now we have already prepared 2 balance sheets in the revised Schedule 3 only. Not talking about, before that, I'll just light up the environment created by previous session, because NAFRA के जितने भी session, जितने भी orders हैं, ideally if we do not look at it in a negative spirit, this is how an audit should have been done, and this was actually a serious lapse on the audit part. So nothing is coming, even if you are taking some, what I would say, there is a different opinion you have with the regulatory authority. So if your file is substantiating your opinion, then you would be able to demonstrate that how you took that call in that particular time. So talking about the regulatory orders, there have been coverage for Schedule 3 also that got amended 2 years ago. It was primarily issued in 3 phases, that is Division 1, Division 2, Division 3. Division 1 is for AS compliant companies, Division 2 is for AS compliant company, and Division 3 is specific for NBFCs. So, if we talk about the roadmap of change of format of balance sheet, it started in 2012 with the revised Schedule 6, then 2013 it got replaced with Schedule 3, and this 2020 it came up with a revised Schedule 3. There are some additional disclosure which was not there in the earlier version. It is related to that promoter shareholding, trade payable bifurcation, aging, and registration and satisfaction of charge, more than 2 layers of subsidiaries, compliance with scheme of arrangement, revaluation beyond impact beyond 10%, and revaluation has to be by registered valuer only. There are some additional disclosure which are on financial discipline and solvency. These are ratio analysis, aging of trade receivable, trade payable, CWIP aging, post overrun in case of CWIP, transaction not recorded in books but surrendered to the income tax department, CSR spending details, and use of borrower funds and loans and advances of to promoters, directors, relatives. That too with a stress on without specifying the terms of repayment or period thereof. Now, Caro and Schedule 3 in most of the respects are going hand in hand, because all these disclosures are to be made by the company by way of their balance sheet. So this is compliance under Schedule 3, and on the same time, auditor would also be reporting on all these things in his Caro report. So talking about ratios, auditor comment in Caro is that whether there is a substantial financial liquidity available for the next 12 months based on the ratios only. About CSR spending, there is an equivalent reporting clause in the Caro also. Now there are some other changes also dealing with stock of company, benaming transaction, immovable property not held in the name of the company, and loan given to other entities. Now this was a very important clause that you might be receiving funds from your parent organization with a specific instruction to use it for X purpose, or vice versa can be the case that you would be giving loan to your fellow companies with a specific instruction to use it for XYZ purpose only. Now, in that case, it has to be highlighted by the company as well as the auditor whether such a transaction is there where company has participated in some way in where the ultimate beneficiary is not the person receiving the money or paying the money. Dealing in cryptocurrency, this is again a hot topic for the last 2 years, but I would say new topic for the last 2 years. There has to be disclosure in the financial statement. Now there are some other small changes also that now balance sheets are to be compulsory rounded off into the nearest 100,000 lakhs. There are ceilings available. Promoter shareholding has to be disclosed. Current maturity of long-term debt, earlier it was part of current liabilities, nowadays a part of short-term borrowings only. Trade payable, trade receivable, aging schedule, disputed, non-disputed. Now all these formats are there and you would see the balance sheet of 22 as well as 23 which is prepared for in these formats only. And it is applicable to every set of company, be it be listed company, be it be private limited company, or be it be a Section 25 company also, which is more of a charitable organization. Now, borrowings from banks and financial institutions, we have been observing this compliance that information furnished to the banks for the purpose of working capital assessment is grossly variant from what is there in the financial statements also. Now, it is a responsibility casted on the management as well as the auditor whether the interim financial information which is being submitted to the bank for working capital assessment are in line with the information which is there in the books of accounts only. So no doubt we are preparing financial statement for the March ending only. But if the management has submitted for the June ending or for the September ending, the standard talks about the quarterly submission. So as an auditor, we are duty bound to evaluate. As a management also, they are duty bound to evaluate whether the June position is exactly derived from the completed books of accounts only or not. So what has been done in the past 2 years also, the company is preparing their interim financial information without any statutory obligation. That same information is being submitted to the bank or not. Registration of charge, this has been a secretarial matter that every borrowing is taken by the company. There has to be a registration of charge with the secretary MCA website. So whether these are completed or not completed, ratios, there have been more than 10 ratios which has to be given. Current ratios, debt equity ratio, debt coverage ratio, and if there is a variance of more than 25% between the last reported number and the current reported number, then reason for variation is also to be given by the management. Utilization of borrowed fund, like I said, that if you are receiving the money with a ultimate object being defined by the giver, that you have to utilize this for this purpose only, then you are just an intermediary party to the fund flow entire. Then that situation has to come up explicitly on the balance sheet as well as on the auditor report.
So this has again come up because of whatever I told you, the kind of money which was going out through share companies, A company giving to B, B giving to C, C using it. So this is somewhere to take care of it.
So one point is on the undisclosed income. What has been happening that income tax is issuing notice for the undisclosed income, and the promoter and the management are getting it settled also with the income tax authority. However, that corresponding income never got recorded in the books of accounts. Now it is duty bound for the management and to report by the auditor whether any such instance happened with the company in the previous year and whether such income has been recorded in the books of accounts. Now, cryptocurrency, CSR, again, there are some explanatory disclosures which has to be made by the company. And CSR is equivalent to equally to be reported by auditors also in their current report. Talking about Caro is being constituted under the Companies Act.
आपका मैं तो सर पहले को
मैं I'll jump to that
मैंने कोई बात नहीं, आप कर लीजिए, आप उसको अकाउंटिंग साइड पर लीजिए जो की
FRR की वाला
हाँ ये कर लो
सर ये भी आप कर लीजिए, I'll understand.
नहीं ये कर लो, ये वाला कर लो ना।
So these are again we discussed about
key issues है वो लगा रहा है.
we discussed about the irregularities highlighted by NFRA in the last couple of years. These are key findings of QRB, that is Quality Review Board, and FRRB of ICI. There have been a specified format for audit report. In number of instances, it has been noticed that that format has not been adhered to. The paragraphs on management responsibilities are missing, or in fact, financials are issued on the letterhead of the auditor. Auditor is the owner of only audit report. Financials are the property of company. So, as a statutory auditor, these financials should not be issued on the letterhead of the statutory auditors. Again, emphasis of matter paragraph is either placed at a wrong place. So SA 706 defined that where this paragraph is to be placed. Or most of the time it has been used as a replacement of qualification, because that is something SA 706 is not a modification per se. It's not a black spot on the overall report. It is just an informative. So most of the time a matter which require a audit qualification has been reported by way of EOM or other matter. Report titled auditor report instead of independent auditor's report. Cash flow statement applicable but not made part of the financial statements. Last one is significant accounting policies and notes are seen on the letterhead of the auditors. There was no documentation to demonstrate that SA 720 has actually been checked. SA 720 is a new paragraph in the audit report. So that mandates auditors to look for the other documents which are published along with the financial statement, say director report or director responsibility statement. So auditor is supposed to receive the draft of those financial statements before issuing his auditor report, and he has to sync his understanding with what is there mentioned in those director's report also. Now, being a company or a corporate entity, accounting standards issued by ICI is not the correct phrase. Accounting standards as notified under company's accounting standard rules is the correct phrase. But nowadays, a lot of companies are still using accounting standards issued by ICI. So, accounting standard issued by ICI are no doubt same as notified by company's accounting standard rules, but these are not to be mentioned for corporate entities. These are to be mentioned only for non-corporate entities. Now, I have covered few accounting standards which are reported by again FRRB only, that commonly found non-compliances in the financial statements of various listed companies. I know this would be something very repetitive, or you have been hearing all this, but this is found even today. So, first part is that all the accounting policies which have been used for preparation of financial statements are not disclosed. Most commonly, cash and cash equivalents accounting policy in nahi aa rahi hoti, employee benefits.
Just one second. Let me just give a context to this. So, when we were looking at the entire corporate audit structure, we thought that instead of covering accounting standards again, let's look at some which the regulator is pointing out. And then if there are issues where you have questions, then we can cover that along. So, as Anuj has said, that these are the compliances, non-compliances which are happening even today. So, maybe you may come across these somewhere you may have missed out, or if there are certain things you want to clarify, then we could look at a specific accounting standard also.
It's one particular non-compliance that I think most policies have. This is regarding employee benefits. So the size of company is such that we are not in a position to hire actually, or it becomes a little cumbersome. The report is also very complex. And most companies are not following this in true sense. So they are making it just basic report that the, like say, gratuity or the divisional liabilities are being accounted for on actual basis. Is that so? Is that sufficient, or do we need to have actual valuation for all retirement benefits and give a substantial report for all kinds of companies?
So there is no exemption.
There is no leeway in the accounting standard because financial statement. I have seen disclosures like that number of employees has not crossed the ceiling limit, or company has not crossed 5 years earlier. But if you talk about AS15, AS15 has no leverage for such kind of.
But उसमें सिर्फ one thing is there, that if gratuity, payment of gratuity act is not applicable,
It is applicable to every company at every time.
So cover कर लो.
So idea is about employee benefit. Now standard categorized into say 4 categories: short-term employee benefits, post-employment benefits, long-term employee benefits and terminal benefits. What is happening? Gratuity is falling here and leave encashment is falling here. So as per standards, both are required to be evaluated in terms of projected credit method, discounting method by an independent actuary. So standard में ऐसा कोई leverage नहीं है कि आपकी कंपनी का size कम है या number of employees कम है, because balance sheet is always prepared with a going concern assumption. Supposing on a given date you have only 5 employees, but you are preparing balance sheet that business is going to last long for a unlimited period. So वो lifetime 5 नहीं रहेंगे, कभी वो 25 भी होंगे और कभी 125 भी होंगे. But in those 5 cases, gratuity will be calculated from their date of joining. So gratuity AS 15 में कोई मतलब leverage नहीं है. Gratuity Act is primarily towards payment of gratuity. In cases में you are not liable to pay it to the employee. But accounting standard framework is all about accrual concept of accounting. So आपको accrual तो day 1 से और number 1 employee से करना पड़ेगा. Same is the case with leave encashment also. लीव एनकैशमेंट में बहुत सारी कंपनीज ऐसे करती हैं कि उसको लॉन्ग टर्म बेनिफिट की जगह शॉर्ट टर्म बेनिफिट बना देती हैं ताकि उनका कैरिड ओवर इफेक्ट खत्म कर देते हैं. सो व्हाटएवर इज पेबल ऑन 31st मार्च ईदर इट विल बी पेड और इट विल गेट लैप्स्ड. सो नो कैरिड ओवर इफेक्ट. उस केस में यू कैन अवॉइड द ग्रेच्युटी दैट एक्चुअल वैल्यूएशन, बट पॉलिसी हैज टू बी अमेंडेड इन दैट केस. We're talking about accounting standard 2 valuation of inventory. The basic principle is lower of cost or NRV. Now, few companies have disclosed their accounting policies in such a way that either it is not giving a reference of NRV or cost is given to be estimated cost basis or cost comprise all. So, what is the exact requirement of standard is that you have to give your policy whether you are following weighted average or FIFO. LIFO is not permitted now, so it can be either FIFO or weighted average. Then again, second component of your accounting policy, it is lower of cost or NRV. You have to define that what all constitute cost. In case of raw material, it would be acquisition cost only. But once we talk about work in progress and finished goods, then you have to define that what kind of cost mechanism you are actually following. So this is something not only about disclosure. So this has a parallel impact on the accounting also. That what kind of expenditure you are actually including in your inventory valuation. So there have been so many case studies also that plant and machinery used for production, whether the depreciation is an eligible item to be included into the fixed assets or not. So electricity, if it is a factory inventory. So factory premises की electricity है, factory premises के maintenance expenses हैं. There was some discussion in that ESQ opinion that if a vehicle is being used to for the travel of office workers, whether it is an eligible item to be included into the cost of inventories or not. So one has to see if principle of AS2 is it has to be directly attributable for bringing the inventory into the current position and location. So for every expense, you as an auditor have to align understanding with the management that whether it is falling into the definition of directly attributable or not. Accounting standard 3 cash flow statement, there is a clear distinction between cash balance and cash equivalents. So cash flow has to be prepared with cash and cash equivalents only. Rest all may be in the category of bank balance only, but if it is not falling into the definition of cash and cash equivalents, it will be shown as other bank balances. And that will be, the movement thereof will be recorded in investing activities rather than at the bottom of the closing balance adjustment only. So if we take an example of investment sale, now if you are into a primary business of purchasing and selling the business, then also there is a category which you are keeping the investment held to maturity. So those can never be the operating activities. Those will only be investing activities. So again, Forex, there have been number of cases reported by various regulators that Forex adjustment is always a non-cash adjustment and it is not reflected well in the cash flow statement. So what we have to do, whatever the expense or income is there in the P&L, so position of debtors and creditors has to be amended to that effect. So it will not be shown as a cash expenditure or cash income. Talking about revenue recognition, so the principle is same for AS9, AS7 and AS12 also. It is about completing the performance of the obligation and then recording the revenue. Collection thereof, billing thereof, be it before the performance obligation or after the performance obligation, that will not be the trigger. Trigger would be doing your part of work, that is completing the performance obligation, coupled with certainty of realization. Okay. If at a given point you are not certain about getting it recovered at a later time, then you can postpone the revenue recognition time. Employee benefit we have actually covered. Now, if we talk about post-employee benefits, there are two subdivision also. One is defined contribution plan, and one is defined benefit plan. So, defined contribution plan in principle, आप अपना contribution दे दो as an employer, and rest all is not your responsibility. The government will take care. Like in case of PF or ESI, आप अपने 12% या 6.5% आप दे दो, and you are discharged from all your obligations. Defined benefit is you carry on with your accrual year on year, yet you are liable for the deficit at the end. आपने लाइफ टाइम एक बंदे की ग्रेचुटी प्रोवाइड कर करके इफ यू हैव रीच टू द 5 lakhs और उसकी ग्रेचुटी 6 lakhs बनी, तो वो 1 lakh रुपीस आपको ही एज एन एम्प्लॉयर डेफिसिट को रिकवर करना, कंट्रीब्यूट करना.
So basically fund, so if the fund does not take care, if you're not funded it, then the balance has to be. So वो distinction between defined benefit और defined contribution की काफी जगह पर गलत है. So contribution is where there is no liability on the employer to contribute more than what has been paid. Because that fund by itself takes care. But in this case, if there is a shortfall, then you will have to pay it. That is the nature of the benefit.
In case of jewel fund or something is taken from an organization like LIC or some other thing, and you are paying year to year basis, what is the contribution of the company or gratuity fund or some other retirement benefit fund?
Again, sir, it will be defined benefit only
Yes.
because LIC will return whatever they have collected from you during the lifetime.
So, the contribution to LIC is on the basis of the actual valuation only.
Yeah.
And they take care of all the gratuity payment from year to year.
Yeah, but then that actual valuation. एक्चुअल वैल्यूएशन जितनी आपकी लायबिलिटी दिखाता था जो आपसे डिमांड एलआईसी करता था उसमें बहुत गैप है बिकॉज दे यूज्ड टू डू इट ऑन अ डिफरेंट बेसिस बट एनी केस दैट इज ओनली अ पेमेंट मोड बट आपकी जो आपको लायबिलिटी अप्रूव करनी है वो आपको एक्चुअल की बेस पे LIC से एक सर्टिफिकेट आता है सर प्रोजेक्टेड क्रेडिट का ही होता है वो बट उन्होंने लास्ट में एक डिस्क्लेमर डाला था दिस सर्टिफिकेट इज नॉट इशूड इन टर्म्स ऑफ AS15 और Ind AS 19. So they have given a disclaimer that this is not a actuarial valuation per se. This is being done on some estimated basis to derive the demand amount.
उसके अंदर sometimes they say that we have taken your gratuity liability. You pay us year to year basis this much amount, then we will take care of the gratuity amount.
Sir, I am sure अगर आप इस सिचुएशन के बाद अगर किसी इंडिपेंडेंट एक्चुअली पे जाएंगे तो either you will be at a deficit of the liability being submitted to the LIC or you would be at an excess at a surplus. So what is happening is supposedly आपने LIC को year on year आज तक 1 करोड़ रुपए जमा कराए by whatever reason आपके ड्रास्टिक एम्प्लॉइज कल सुबह रिटायर हो जाए और 1 करोड़ 5 लाख का पे आउट करें, who will contribute for that 5 lakhs? Company will be ना, LIC will not pay. LIC would say कि मेरे पास 1 करोड़ है, that's the max I can pay. So what is happening? So this is categorized as defined benefit plan. This will not be the case with PS. You have already deposited 12% and you are least bothered about any deficit which may have. गवर्नमेंट की ट्रेजरी में कितना है उनके एम्प्लॉइज को कितना मिलना है आपके एम्प्लॉइज को यू वुड नॉट बी वरीड बट दिस इज नॉट द केस विद ग्रेचुटी एनी डेफिसिट बाय व्हाटएवर रीजन हैज टू बी बोर्न बाय द कंपनी now that is where my first query is you will see in case of big corporates like that they are managing their PF through their own PF so in that case also PF shortfall has to be borne by the employer only. So in that, given the case that PF by substance is a defined contribution plan, but if the organization is managing the PF through their own trust, that means they are liable to make further deficit also. In that case, we would not be covered under defined contribution plan, but under defined benefit.
So PF की जगह I think जो superannuation होता है ना, those are the ones which are covered.
PF में भी होता है.
No, no. No, please, if it's a defined benefit, then
So if you are going with that RPF, Central Government Fund, then only it will be a defined contribution. Now talking about segment reporting, inconsistencies have been reported that exports are there, substantial exports are there, but segment information has not been reported. There has to be accounting policy also before making the disclosure. Now you will see a lot of cases that profit as for segment 1, profit as for segment 2, profit as for segment 3. The total is not matching with the primary P&L. And same is the case with assets also, liabilities also. So segment is just bifurcating your overall financial position and performance into various segments. So we have seen so many cases where the total of the segments is not matching with the total of the full balance sheet. Talking about related party disclosure, this is very sensitive topic for the last 2-3 years. Most of the case studies have a reference of related party transaction also. So instances, the accounting standard non-compliances have been seen that you would see transaction elsewhere reported like loan to directors, share purchase, share issued, but these are not forming part of related party transaction. So if shares are issued to your holding company by virtue of AS 18 is a related party. So this should have been reported as a related party transaction as well. Loan to directors, if that is a managing director, there is a KMP. Every director is a KMP. So if you have given loan, if you have recovered the loan, there is a interest payment also. So all these transactions should have been included in the related party transaction as well. Now, standard is very clear that you have to define the name, you have to define the relationship, but there are some cases where a general term has been used like other related party. So standard does not permit anything like this other related party. So you have to define how, by what virtue it is a related party. Whether it is a key management person, whether it is a control driven party, whether it is a significant influence driven party. Talking about earning per share, the standard as well as Schedule 3 clearly defines the format in which it is to be reported. The nominal value of share is also to be given. Diluted again as a principle, it can only be diluted further by basic. So it cannot upright from basic. Diluted earning share, what anomalies has been observed that you will see preference share or share application money is there, but diluted earning per share has not been calculated. Yes, 22, there have been some, as a principle, deferred tax asset is to be recognized subject to
reasonable certainty.
And if it is on loss and unabsorbed depreciation, that has to be accompanied by a convincing evidence of loss. Virtual certainty followed by convincing evidence. So anomalies have been observed in various financials where such statement has been used for liability recognition also, and incorrect presentation of deferred tax liabilities. There has been a prefix placed in the Schedule 3 format how deferred tax asset has to be reported, how deferred tax liability has to be reported. The disclosure will contain details of the components on which DTA or DTL has been created. Now, talking about AS 26 is about intangible assets. For intangible assets, there is no predefined life under any law. So you as a company as a management has to define law or life of every intangible asset. There is a very general statement written in AS 26 that there is a reputable presumption that life of an intangible asset should not be more than 10 years. So if you decide 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, that is something on the management and that should be disclosed as a part of accounting policy.
The software can be more. Piece of software can be 5 years.
It can be 3 years also.
3 years.
So repeatable means arguable it cannot exceed 10%, but in case even if you want to exceed 10%, then you have to demonstrate. So preliminary expenses, deferred revenue expenditure, these are very old principles. By the introduction of AS 26 in 2006, these should have been removed from the financial statement. But today also we see in certain balance sheet that this deferred revenue expenditure is there. So principles of AS 26 define a certain stage of an intangible asset into two phases. One is research phase and one is development phase. So research phase, everything has to be expensed of, and under the development phase, you can carry it as a capitalizing the same, firstly intangible asset under development, then intangible assets being completed also. So parameters as given in the standards are not being adhered to. Unknowingly, certain transactions under research phase has been capitalized or some development phase has been expensed of. All these are just, again, I'm saying not only disclosure part, but you have to evaluate accounting has been done in terms of accounting standard guidance or not. Talking about AS 28, this is also a very critical standard in terms of management evaluation. Now, if you see the accounting policy for impairment, every company it is mentioning that considerations are given at each balance sheet date. Yani ki once in a year, impairment assessment has to be done by the management. But whether it is formal or not, that is something you can ask from the management based on the indicators available. Indicators are financial indicators also, that company is continue to incur losses year on year, or non-financial, that all the key man persons are leaving the firm, the management, there is a change of auditor, there is a change in the governing board, etc. That business is not being run with a previous assessment, so fresh assessment has to be made. Again, AS 5 defines about the exceptional items and the extraordinary items. So there is no clear definition, but Schedule 3 mentions some of the cases which can be shown as an exceptional item. So impairment made and impairment reversed are those exceptional items. So these, if recorded in the financial statement, can be presented under exceptional items.
If your accounting policies are not according to accounting standards, or they are not prepared at all, so where to report as an auditor in the audit report? So qualification or emphasis on the matter, because there is no financial impact. Suppose borrowing cost, AS 16 is not applicable to most of the companies, so they don't make any policy.
AS 16
sorry.
तो सर अगर आपकी बैलेंस शीट में कहीं बोरिंग कॉस्ट यूटिलाइज नहीं, मतलब वो नहीं हुई है, यूज नहीं हुई है, तो आपको अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी देनी भी नहीं। आपको अकाउंटिंग पॉलिसी वही देनी है जो प्रिपरेशन ऑफ द फाइनेंशियल स्टेटमेंट में कहीं ना कहीं यूज हुई है।
मैंने AS 15 पे क्वालिफिकेशन देखी थी, the assumption taken by the actuarial, the auditor is not satisfied, and he has given a qualified opinion that return on investment is taken by the actuarial is 6.22% instead of so much. So is that qualification acceptable?
So ये ना सारे ऐसे 540 में आ जाते हैं कि estimates actuarial ने जो assumptions लिए हैं वो on behalf of management लिए हैं। You will have your validation of those assumptions. So if you are disagreeing, obviously it's a matter of qualification, but you have to demonstrate that why are you not relying on the management estimates? Do you have an alternative or not? So there are some demographic assumptions being used by the actuary, जिसमें growth rate होता है, तो आप उनको अगर चैलेंज कर रहे हैं तो मोस्ट ऑफ द केसेस हमारा जब भी एक्चुअली से डिस्कनेक्ट हुआ है तो हमने रिपोर्ट रिवाइज करा ली है। तो एक्चुअली आल्सो अंडरस्टैंड उनका भी कोई पर्सनल इंटरेस्ट तो होता नहीं रॉन्ग डेमोग्राफिक असम्पशंस के साथ, तो हम एक्चुअल के एस्टिमेट्स चेंज करा लेते हैं, और इन केस अगर आप नहीं करवा पा रहे तो देन यू हैव अ फिट केस फॉर ऑडिट क्वालिफिकेशन। The estimates made by the management are not in line with your general understanding. So I know this is very old topic or recurring topic. So I would like you to discuss your concerns related to accounting standard.
Auditor needs to be present at the stock verification. So in the case of this Adani and other auditors are appointed after the financial year. So in that case, what has to be a fine or
आप ऐसे 501 आई है additional consideration by the auditor और इसके according it is mandated on the auditor to attend the physical verification by virtue of your appointment post 31st March and inventory being a substantial item to your financial statement. This is a matter of disclaimer. There is a guidance available within 501.
But the previous auditor was there.
705.
But then the previous auditor was there on that
नहीं
time.
मैं एक सेकंड अनुज no so this is an auditing issue but still because it's a balance sheet item inventory it's substantial there's a requirement under 501 that you have to be present if you cannot be present because of your appointment then it is a limitation on scope and that has to be covered under 705 where you have to mention that part has to be disclaimed that you could not be present because your appointment came in.
The previous auditor was there at the time of verification.
But in this auditor, there is no concept because he or she is not going to sign off on the financial statement.
You cannot rely on his
Not at all.
report.
There is no concept or reliance of another auditor. A auditor cannot rely on the B auditor unless it's a component audit. You cannot rely on an internal auditor also unless you have an agreement under 610 where you have looked at their competence and seen that okay, and you have said okay, this work will be done.
So you are not appointed as the auditor of the company until 31st March. अब इसको trading देखें तो this is a disclaimer also चाहिए. तो normally disclaimer कोई भी welcome नहीं करता ना management auditor. So there is an alternative आप इसको back forward अगर आप इस qualification को validate कर सकते.
So इसके अंदर that's fair. So what you have to say is okay, you are not good, but you get a verification thereafter when you are appointed. And you get a roll backward procedure and you are able to come to the inventory satisfactorily, then it is okay. But if you are not allowed to do that or you cannot do it, then you have to give a discount.
So standard में कोई leverage नहीं है that you have to be available at the inventory location. Standard में impractical की कुछ बात लिखी है but none of the cases auditor to demonstrate even covenant relaxation नहीं आए inventory verification में. They have issued additional guidelines कि आप इसके local mode में करो आप local auditor को अपनी support में appoint करो local city के auditor को अपनी support में appoint करो but there were no leverage कि आप inventory attend ना करो. Wherever inventory is a substantial item in the balance sheet. आप इसमें आपको अलाउ है एबीसी एनालिसिस अलाउ है तो मतलब there is a concept that 80% of the value is being constituted by 20% of that 20% of the value is constituting 80% of that तो आप उसको materiality में आप document करो अपने approach में you want to visit only few locations but यहाँ पे मतलब आपने एक साल एक location कर लिया आप दूसरे साल दूसरी location कर सकते. So that is a very old case of the international investor India owner is also like a physically legal chain. It's so many. So it's not about materials, immaterials. अगर आप कारोबार में देखो तो reporting obligation starts with more than 10% of the business. तो किसी ने बैटरी 5 की दिखा है कि वहाँ पे 4 की आपको कोई risk of material statement
10% तो cumulative करना पड़ेगा. मैं जो भी अपना सैंपल बेस करता हूँ So अगर कहीं पर वो gap दिखता है,
मैनेजमेंट को तो सैंपल लगाओ.
so when you have to discuss with the management are okay, these are cases where we are finding discrepancies. Either you check further or you find somebody to.
So most of the cases that होता है तो relocation तो वहाँ पे give us their conference auditor or their internal auditor or special stock auditor के appoint होते हैं to verify XYZ location. So as an auditor अगर आपको पैन इंडिया का रिस्क कवर करना है तो कुछ लोकेशंस ऐसी होंगी जो आप खुद कवर करेंगे, कुछ लोकेशंस यू विल रिलाई ऑन द रिपोर्ट ऑफ द इंटरनल ऑडिटर और द कॉन्करेंट ऑडिटर और कुछ आप मैनेजमेंट एस्टिमेट्स पे भी मतलब मैनेजमेंट वेरिफिकेशन के लिए.
And the question again about the service is started to have a required small office and following that. The concept also is कर दिया but अभी जो provision है liabilities है उनको वो actual evaluation से values वगैरह करवा के वो disclose ही नहीं कर रहे.
15/26 का है 15/26
Gratuity Act के साथ.
मतलब they are doing with their own whims and fancies but they are not going for the actual evaluation. So आप आज शाम को एक बार AS 15 so दोबारा अगर करना आपको कोई leverage नहीं मिलेगी.
इसमें auditor की क्या responsibility?
Qualification but AS 15 has not been complied for by the government.
अगर मटेरियल है उसमें अगर तो एम्प्लॉय बेनिफिट्स जो है मटेरियल है ग्रेचुइटीज मटेरियल आपने मटेरियल की तो ऑल काउंटिंग एवरीथिंग इज बेस्ड ऑन मटेरियल. अगर मटेरियल है सपोजिंग आपका 10 करोड़ का टर्नओवर है और ये जो अमाउंट है 1 करोड़ बनता है 50 साल भी बनता है डिपेंडिंग आपके मटेरियलिटी लेवल क्या है. अगर 50 लाख टोटल अमाउंट बनता है उसके अंदर मिसस्टेटमेंट कितनी हो सकती है वो देखिए आप हिसाब से आपको
ऑलरेडी किया गया या मटेरियल हो या ना हो
उसमें
तो दिस
मटेरियल
इज अ कंप्लायंस ऑफ अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड्स.
हाँ उसमें मैं वही बता रहा हूँ इवन अकाउंटिंग साइड अगर आप AS1 भी देखो टॉक्स अबाउट मटेरियलिटी अगर उसका मटेरियल इम्पैक्ट नहीं होगा आपको. हाँ आपकी बात बिल्कुल ठीक है. देयर इज अ सेपरेट रिक्वायरमेंट फॉर कंप्लायंस ऑफ अकाउंटिंग स्टैंडर्ड अंडर रिपोर्ट वहाँ आपको देना पड़ेगा. लेकिन ये हो सकता है कि उसका इम्पैक्ट जो है अनुज अग्री नहीं करे.
Again, materiality के आगे दो टुकड़े हो जाते हैं. One is quantitative parameters and one is qualitative parameters. So ये जो non compliance of law है, it is covered that qualitative aspect. I have a
So I think in that materiality you can have a lower materiality. और अगर सपोजिंग मेरा 500 रुपए का बनता है या मेरा 1000 2000 20,000 सपोजिंग 20,000 बनता है या मटेरियलिटी मैं ये कह सकता हूँ कि अकाउंटिंग चैरिटी मेरे मटेरियलिटी लेवल 2 लाख रुपए बट टोटली डिसरिगार्ड मटेरियलिटी है. सो आई एग्री विद यू टू दैट. बट आई थिंक उनको आंसर तो मिल गया. हाँ ये नॉट मिल जाए पोजीशन from your own calculation is quite steep. The difference is substantial and it is a better matter of qualification also. But if the compliance is not there at all, then that matter.
In fact, ये AS 15 का एक और मेरे को कॉन्सेप्ट पता है उसमें वेस्टिंग और नॉन वेस्टिंग का भी है. जैसे लीव का एक कॉन्सेप्ट है कि नेक्स्ट ईयर में आपको कैश नहीं मिलेगा 1 रुपया भी लीव ना दे. So that is also eligible item for the actual evaluation. Though it's a non-cash item, so the standard concept है it's a non-vesting benefit which is to be given in the next year. उसकी valuation आपको अपनी
These are yes, 15 की वजह से कुछ कंपनी खासकर प्राइवेट सेक्टर के अंदर तो इसे हो रहा है तो छोड़ जाते हैं. After 2 years, you are taking the estimate life of 51 years. If you take within 3 years or 2 years, what are provision made by you? लेकिन आपकी profit better है. आपसे negative effect आ रहा है. But in any case, to just to conclude, आपको requirement compliance करने के लिए material के साथ.
gratuity amount is so heavy this year and return back is so heavy this year. So these are well explained to the authorities. अब ये जो अनस्ट्रक्चर्ड क्लास होती है इसमें हर साल आपके 500 नए बंदे ऐड होते हैं और 500 नए बंदे छोड़ते जाते हैं, तो एजिंग फैक्टर उनका अफेक्ट हो जाता है कि कोई बंदा आपके पास 3 साल से काम कर रहा था तो उसका अप्रूवल 3 इयर्स लाइफ के हिसाब से होगा, अचानक से वो बंदा रिप्लेस होकर 3 हफ्ते बाद आ जाएगा, तो ग्रेजुटी प्रोविजन सब्सटेंशियली डाउन हो जाता है. There have been inquiries by the regulator, but these have been answered well. There is no cross question to that. तो इसमें कुछ मतलब वेरिएंस इज देयर और लेकिन ये वेल एक्सप्लेन्ड वेरिएंस होता है. हमें भी इसमें मिला सब्सटेंशियली 50% लायबिलिटी डाउन हो.
प्रोविजन मतलब राइट बैक हुआ ना.
हाँ, प्रोविजन राइट बैक होता है. आपको ये चीज देखने की जरूरत है कि डेटा रिपोर्टेड टू एक्चुअली इज एक्चुअली मैचिंग विद द बैलेंस शीट. तो हंड्रेड्स ऑफ केसेस में ये अनॉमलिटी होती है कि बैलेंस शीट में 31 मार्च का कुछ और डेटा होता है और एक्चुअली को कुछ और डेटा नहीं होता है. ये कॉन्ट्रैक्टेड एम्प्लॉइज आर आल्सो सब्जेक्ट टू एक्चुअल कंसीडरेशन, बट वो डेटा रिपोर्ट ही नहीं होता उनको. आपके पेरोल पे 800 एम्प्लॉइज हैं लेकिन डेटा रहता है 600 का, तो जो एक्चुअल कैलकुलेशंस आएंगे वो तो 600 के डेटाबेस पे ही आएंगे, व्हिच बाय इटसेल्फ इज अंडरस्टैंडेड अगर आपकी कंपनी का 800
इसका मतलब जो डेटा दिया है पेरोल को वो भी वेरीफाई करना पड़ेगा.
बिल्कुल सबसे ज्यादा
आई कैन से 6 आउट ऑफ 10 केसेस में आपको अनॉमलिटी मिलेगी.
आज जब रिपोर्ट नहीं है.
क्वेश्चन ये अभी ना जैसे कि अभी आया कि अप्रैल 23 से अकाउंटिंग पैकेज जो है उसमें ऑडिट पेज होना चाहिए, ये इफेक्टिव हो गया है. तो जो हमारे 22-23 की ऑडिट है उसकी ऑडिट रिपोर्ट में भी क्या हमें इंक्लूड करना है इसके लिए?
उसमें एक जनरल सा क्लोज आ रहा है, आप किसी की भी एनुअल रिपोर्ट में देखेंगे
कई लोग डाल रहे हैं कई नहीं डाल
नॉट एप्लीकेबल. मतलब जो डाल भी रहे हैं उनका इफेक्ट तो यही है कि दिस प्रोविजन वाज ब्रॉट इन, later it got extended to next year, so for the purpose of March 23 reporting this clause is not.
उसकी वजह है, उसकी वजह ये है कि जो रिक्वायरमेंट ऑडिटर्स की रिपोर्टिंग की है और जो कंपनी की कंप्लायंस की उसके बीच में पीरियड मिसमैच. सो दे एक्सटेंडेड द डेट for the compliance by the company by a year, but they did not extend the date for the auditor's requirement for reporting. So the institute then provided a guidance that, and I was part of that discussion, that and this is a guidance note also is a technical guidance, where they clearly said that because of the fact that the compliance has been extended for the company, we are unable to report on this.
Is it mandatory or advisory?
So it's a technical guide, but to that extent it is. You can say it is only providing guidance.
तो अभी हमें चेक करने की जरूरत नहीं है
अभी, लेकिन जब आप नेक्स्ट ईयर रिपोर्ट करोगे तो आपको April 22 onwards चेक. So this feature has to be activated 365 days 24/7.
उसमें ये भी रिपोर्ट करना है कि कहीं डिसेबल तो नहीं हुआ था, उसका
नॉर्मली अभी जब बोर्ड से इंटरेक्शन हो रही है तो हम एज एन ऑडिटर इस पर कमेंट कर रहे हैं कि कंपनी ने April 22 ऑनवर्ड्स अपने अमेंडेड वर्जन लगा लिया है. April 23 ऑनवर्ड्स अपने अमेंडेड सिस्टम रखने हैं. फ्रॉम द सर्विस प्रोवाइडर साइड सबने अपना ये एडवांस फीचर लॉन्च कर दिया है. टैली में या कोई भी अकाउंटिंग पैकेज है, सैप में या किसी और ERP में तो ये ऑलवेज ही होता था, और तो टैली में भी इंक्लूड कर दिया है.
ये सारी कंपनीज के लिए एप्लीकेबल है.
सारी
गवर्नमेंट कंपनी बाय आउटसाइड कंपनी सेक्शन 25 कंपनी
लाइसेंस वर्जन में यूज करते हैं.
वो तो अब करना पड़ेगा ना. सो एक ऑल्टरनेटिव जो वेरी स्मॉल साइज के लिए हो रहा है कि आप ERP पे मेंटेन मतलब कंप्यूटर पे मेंटेन करना ही छोड़ दो, हार्ड कॉपी पे.
हार्ड कॉपी भी आ सकता है.
अगर आपका इतना ही मतलब
कोई ट्रांजैक्शन नहीं है तो हार्ड कॉपी भी आ सकता है, तो स्कैन करके.
बट इफ यू आर नहीं सर मतलब ये बैक टू 20 years बैक जो पुराना बाइक था
आपको एक टेलीग्राफ बोल दे रहा हूँ क्वालिफिकेशन नहीं है वो परमिटेड है नहीं परमिटेड है वो सेक्शन स्टार्ट्स विद इफ यू आर मेंटेनिंग योर बुक्स इन एन इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मोड अभी आपके ऊपर ये है अगर इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मोड नहीं है तो ये सेक्शन आपको आगे सारे बट ये इतना कोई डिफिकल्ट नहीं है अगर टैली ने विदाउट एनी एडिशनल चार्ज अपना ये फीचर डेवलप कर दिया सबने कर दिया टैली आई एम सेइंग बीइंग द स्मॉलेस्ट ऑफ द कम्युनिटी ऑफ द मार्क 20 रिकॉर्डेड मार्क 20 को ऑलरेडी मिलेगी Thank you everyone.
The point is that I want you to do justice to the topic. So if you want, we can take it up after the topic. Just next week we'll listen. In fact, it is, I would say, a deficiency on our part that a program which should have been, instead of having all three speakers in one program, we should have three programs, one for each speaker we should have had. And that is how we could have done justice. रेखी साहब आपने चेयर रेखी साहब ने थोड़ी चेयर रेखी साहब ने बेचारा जगन्नाथ जी को बिठा दिया उसके ऊपर सॉरी जगन्नाथ जी एक्सट्रीमली सॉरी एनीवे
ये अब से नहीं हो रहा 82 से हो रहा है 78 से ऐसे हो रहा है
78 से यही करता है चलिए I think we are running really short of time, and apologies to the speakers also that we could not give them sufficient time to do justice to the topic. But nevertheless, I think it's definitely a wake-up call for all of us who are involved in audit to the kind of subject we should, the understanding and the effort which is required, to such an extent that we were talking of physical inventory when the stock taking is being done, the physical presence of the auditors there. These are certain things which may not seem very significant, but then the kind of questioning which comes subsequently when something things go wrong, and the kind of regulators who are there who are questioning the auditors. I was seeing the presentation of Sanjay. In fact, in addition to this, I find that a lot of questioning is being done even by the RPs who are being appointed under IBC when the matter goes to NCLT. And if they're not able to get any information from the company or the management, they get after the auditors. And we have had such occasions where RP is trying to seek information from us, which is not under our purview also. So anyway, the point is that wherever we need to do justice with our work, we have to be very thorough. And as rightly said, audit is a serious business and we have to perform it seriously. So very well said and very well done, all three of the auditors. Let's have a round of applause for all the three speakers. To convey our thanks and as a memento for the evening, we'd like to request Mr. D.S. Rekhi to present a memento to Mr. Sanjay Vasudeva.
all accounting standards. And thanks a lot.
Can I request Adish Mehra to do the honors for Mr. Anuj?
It's actually an honor giving it to him. Nice presentation on it.
Can I request Mr. S.L. Deepak to please present a memento to Mr. Jagannath?
Ready, sir?
Yes, I think Jagannath ji ko, yeah, the standards on auditing we definitely need to have.
And you know the purpose of this seminar is that there is a saying that more you know, the more ignorant you are. Because the more you know what is the horizon of the knowledge. So this thing is that you know how much you have to learn more.
Yes, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know, and that is what I think. At least I have learned here that I know nothing about audit. So fortunately, I am not so much personally involved in audit, and we have partners here who are looking after audit. So really thankful to them for doing all this tough job. No, because I am saying that I am ignorant, so that way I can take a refuge that yes, I am not doing it. So even if
Auditing is such an exercise to be done by any organization, a very proper meeting. You cannot do it alone, not provide shape or partner with a 4-5 partners cannot handle the audit. Especially a listed company or a company which have got over 400 crores or something like that.
I think rest of the discussion we can have over the tea and some snacks on the ground floor. Thank you. Thanks everybody.
Thank you so much, Steve. We should be building our audit report. We should follow the auditing issue by to us. We can take advantage from what is happening to the I mean, extra audit मिलेगा ये नहीं मिलेगा. हम करेंगे please take care of it and then also you have please incorporate those observations in the audit report provided the other material. In case of material, consider whether the other material can be worked. We should have a document if we are doing any observation as related to government policies, a certain amount of layers of government standards or anything like that. So my small suggestion is that I'll make this presentation for the first time. This is being prepared by somebody from Sunil Arora. I did that actually already in that. So the main company audit report is in 3 parts. One is independent audit report, second is cargo, and third is independent financial report, authority report. The main independent audit report is covered by SA 700. The 700 gives us the format of the audit report. We should not delete anything which is mentioned in the SA 700 that it should be incorporated in our report. That is opinion part, basis of opinion, auditor's responsibility, management responsibility, everything should be covered. The regulation not to be reported in the Companies Act or any other notification issued by MCA from time to time. So, independent audit report is covered in 3 parts. One is the SA 700 also spread the accountability and responsibility of auditors. If we ignore anything which we are not reporting it, but if it is required as per SA 700, then we can be responsible. So please cover anything which is mentioned in the SA 700, whatever which is covered in the second part of next slides. So, and second is 700 is applicable for all audits. It is not only for company audit, it is applicable for whether it's tax audit or any other, but tax audit we are issue a report in Form 3C or 3CB. In some audit firms, they are issuing even 3CB also, they are incorporating all these columns which are mentioned in S7 letter. But in most of the cases, they are preparing the audit report in the software only and searching that report only. Next is the structure of audit report as listed in 7 letter. The one is that it should be addressed to somebody. In case of companies, should be to the shareholders. In case of any other person, the auditing authority is RS. Next is these different columns which are prescribed in SSI and come to the important part, which is emphasis on the matter 706. Mr. Sanjay Vasudeva was already explained about this standard in detail, but the sequence important is what is emphasis on the matter, what is by qualification. We have to be particular about that aspect and keep the documentation if we are anything putting in the emphasis on matter, but not in qualified report or anywhere. So these are few things which are commonly you have seen in the balance sheet. There is no change in the current financial and the audit report requirements as compared to last year. Now, normally the auditors are giving clean audit report, which is called unmodified opinion. The basis is because whatever observation we are, they are being incorporated to the financial books or accounts. So, main is the compliance with the framework. If it is balance sheet is accordingly, then it's free from fraud and error. Accounting standards are complied with. Accounting policies are properly disclosed. Management estimates and reporting, like AS15 also we have discussed. Even other estimates for provisioning or something like that has been properly made. And in case of any discrepancies, most of the time management agrees to it and they revise the financials according to the observation of the auditors. So in that cases, our opinion is clean or unmodified. In most of the cases, even in public sector undertaking also, the reports are clean because of the suggestion of the auditors are being incorporated. In case of listed companies also, because I have not any experience of doing audit of listed company, this all presentation is made by me only from the study of the accounting standards or something like that. The next part is key audit matters. This is 701. This is 701 which guide us how to decide about key audit matters. What is the key audit matter? We have given certain parameters on the basis of we have to decide what is the key audit matter. Apply to audit of listed companies only. This is SS 701. But we can, if we feel better, we can incorporate it in the unlisted companies also. If auditors is of view that is required to be disclosed, then we can incorporate the same in unlisted companies also. The definition of the case is also given in the SS 701. And the important part regarding KM is that anything which you are observing, you must communicate to the management in writing and take their views also. Even adverse comment or negative opinion should be also be communicated to the management or the person who is controlling the company. Then only you incorporate in the audit report and take their views and take your judgment accordingly. And key audit matter to identify is that based on the risk area of high risk material misstatement is there in the balance sheet, then you must take those basis statements in the key audit matters. And management estimates are very much various to your own calculation. Then you take those like remaining commission policy. In case of one balance sheet, there is a contract estimate or some other basis. Then this is the most important part is modification opinion SA 705. In this, the SA suggests us what is qualified opinion, what is adverse opinion, and what is disclaimer opinion. In all three cases, we must communicate to the management whatever our opinion is, and that should be incorporated in the main audit report. What is your basis and what is your opinion? In case of any three of the year, most of the cases we have a qualified opinion, even in private sector, also public sector. Adverse is very rare, but disclaimer is given when the information is not provided to you. That disclaimer be given, like you don't get the confirmation, as Sanjay ji has said, in case of advances given, and you do not get the confirmation of the third party to whom advance was given, then given to third party, then give a disclaimer about that advance. Next is emphasis on the matter, SA 706. This is basically is given in case of any thing which is given in the notes or accounts, but you want to show to the user of financial statements which are of extraordinary nature in the emphasis of matter. This is not a qualification, but you want to highlight to the readers of the financial statement, please go through those things like private items, amalgamations, exceptional litigation outcome, or major event happening after balance sheet. So these things, although reflected in the balance sheet notes or accounts, but you may suggest or in the emphasis of matter to cover those matters so that user of the financials can go through your audit report and say, okay, these are important parts to be considered if I take anything from the financial statements. Next is comparative information corresponding figure SA 70. This is this essay is meant to give other information, right? Which is not a nature qualification, not a nature of emphasis on the matter, like previous figure. It is not audited or audited by somebody else, or they are being reviewed. Basically, things which can be explained in this paragraph. Then Mr. Anuj has covered the caro. Basically, there is no change in the caro. I am not going into detail because of shortage of time. All these things we know very well because they are same in the last year. The only change this year is the definition of small company. With effect from 15th September 22, the paid-up capital limit has been increased from 2 to 4 crores, and turnover has been increased from 20 to 40 crores. So in most of the small companies, the caro applicability is not there. There is no change in any clause. Clause 21 are there, and there are about 35 sub-clauses are there which have to be commented or reported by us. But there is one more important part, which is in case of any your observation in the caro which is affecting the financials of the balance sheet, that must be part of our qualified opinion. Because in most of the cases I have seen, there is an observation in the caro, but this first independent audit board is totally blind. And that is material amount. वो कहता है सर हमने तो उसको दे दी डिटेल, वहाँ से पढ़ लें उसको पढ़नी होगी. But if it is affecting the true and financial, true and fairness of the balance sheet or affecting the profits or loss of the company, then this must be incorporated in the main audit report also. Next important part is there, which is observed in most of the cases. In case of you have a negative answer in respect of any clause of caro, please give reason for the same. Suppose physical inspection of fixed assets not conducted, or conducted, it is not up for your satisfaction level. You may mention in the audit report but give the reason also accordingly. Because of what has not done it or there in the past years or shortages are there. If shortages are there in physical, they are not accounted for, then you must give the audit report also. The adverse reason, because in most of the cases I've seen वो स्टैंडर्ड लैंग्वेज आ रही है जो कारो प्रिंटेड है उसी को ही पेश करके कंपनी का नाम बदला हुआ है कुछ नहीं है सो प्लीज राइट योर इंडिपेंडेंट रिपोर्ट एंड कारो रिपोर्ट very straightforward manner. Whatever you have observed accordingly. Next is third part of the audit report is reporting on internal control on financial reporting. This is also not applicable in the case of capital limited company. In most of the cases, if your turnover is less than 50 crores or reporting less than 25 crores for one person or small company. So, all these things are basically applicable to companies or listed companies, and we must take care of these things, especially in the last 2-3 years after NAFRA are issued proceedings and all these things. That report should be our main document. Documentation part as listed in the SCS audit report is the main document. Every para of the audit report should be backed by your working papers. It is not the financials only that you keep the documentation, but any paragraph you are writing in the audit report should be backed with working papers in your file, so that you can prove something in the file whenever anything comes for inquiry, that this is the paper with me, on this basis I have taken my opinion. So this is broadly considering the timing we have. I will explain everything about independent audit report and CARO requirements. If anybody has any questions about these things, we can have a. I think my presentation is okay.
Thanks for it. कोई जैसे क्वेश्चन अगली बार.
ठीक है. नहीं फोन में पूछ लेंगे कोई दिक्कत नहीं है.
I think it is very
72 से हो रहा है. 78 से ऐसे हो रहा है.
78 से यही करता है ये. Sorry, I think we are running really short of time, and apologies to the speakers also that we could not give them sufficient time to do justice to the topic. But nevertheless, I think it's definitely a wake-up call for all of us who are involved in audit to the kind of subject we should, the understanding and the effort which is required, to such an extent that we were talking of physical inventory when the stock taking is being done, the physical presence of the auditors there. These are certain things which may not seem very significant, but then the kind of questioning which comes subsequently when something things go wrong, and the kind of regulators who are there, who are questioning the auditors. I was seeing the presentation of Sanjay. In fact, in addition to this, I find that a lot of questioning is being done even by the RPs who are being appointed under IBC when the matter goes to NCLT. And if they are not able to get any information from the company or the management, they get after the auditors. And we have had such occasions where RP is trying to seek information from us, which is not under our purview also. So anyway, the point is that wherever we need to do justice with our work, we have to be very thorough, and as rightly said, audit is a serious business and we have to perform it seriously. So very well said and very well done, all three of the auditors. Let's have a round of applause for all the three speakers. To convey our thanks and as a memento for the evening, we would like to request Mr. D.S. Rekhi to present a memento to Mr. Sanjay Vasudeva.
The accounting standards are in this team. They belong to a family who was instrumental in creating all accounting standards. And thanks a lot.
Can I request Adish Mehra to do the honors for Mr. Anuj?
It's actually an honor giving it to him. Nice presentation of it.
I request Mr. S.L. Deepak to please present a memento to Mr. Jagannath.
Ready, sir?
Yes, I think Jagannath ji ko, yeah, the standards on auditing we definitely need to have.
And you know the purpose of this seminar is that there is a saying that more you know, the more ignorant you are. Because the more you know what is the horizon of that knowledge. So this thing is that you know how much you have to learn more.
Yes, the more you learn, the more you realize how little you know, and that is what I think. At least I have learned here that I know nothing about audit. So fortunately, I am not so much personally involved in audit, and we have partners here who are looking after audit. So really thankful to them for doing all this tough job. No, because I am saying that I am ignorant, so that way I can take a refuge that yes, I am not doing it. So even if
Auditing is such an exercise to be done by any organization, a very proper meeting. You cannot do it alone, not proprietary or partner with a 4-5 partners cannot handle the audit. Especially a listed company or a company which has more than 100 crores or something like that.
I think rest of the discussion we can have over the tea and some snacks on the ground floor. Thank you. Thanks everybody.
Thank you, Sunil.